Good evening. It'd be a little after 7 on July 17th, 2024. Let's open the Kingston Zoning Board of Appeals. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. We're going to kind of go out of order, just try to get everything done. First on the agenda, let's go through the minutes real quick. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes for April 3rd, 2024?
Make a motion to approve the minutes for April 3rd, 2024.
Any
Second.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
One down.
I didn't vote, I wasn't there.
Very good. Marcia will take his place. Next up, minutes for May 1st, 2024. Make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Next up, minutes, June 5th, 2024. Someone want to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of June 1st, 2024.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. One down. Next up is Cushman. Lane, do you want to read it, abbreviated, please?
Yeah.
We have it? I don't know if we have it.
You know what,
yet.
I don't have it.
I don't think we have to open and close it.
No, so,
But-
I can make a motion to,
Open the Cushman hearing?
we've opened it.
Hmm?
Haven't we opened it?
Yeah, I guess you can just make a motion to,
Continue,
yes.
what is
We
it,
don't have-
30 Cushman? No.
I don't even know, I just know Cushman Drive, it's not even,
Cushman Farms.
Cushman Farms, there you go.
Make a motion to continue Cushman Farms.
Oh, hold on. Let's make a date, since two things that happened. What's the second Wednesday in September? Or, excuse me, third Wednesday in September?
What was the question, Paul?
In September,
Yeah,
it's the 18th.
18th. Can we make sure that we get, make sure that the paperwork is good, for, the timeline?
Yes.
If you have to send them an email, since they didn't give us a date at all. I don't know if we should even kick it out farther, to be perfectly honest. Since they have to get a new peer review. They didn't give us a date, so,
Well, I'll continue it to September, or I'll make a motion to continue it to September 18th
at 7 PM.
at 7.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You're not voting on that, correct?
Yeah.
Very good. 7 PM. Next up, Grandview.
I'll make a motion to continue, was it 3 Grandview?
Yeah.
To what date?
She didn't give us anything, so I figured August, second week in, the third Wednesday in August. Whatever that is,
It'd be the 21st.
21st of August.
I'll make a motion to continue 3 Grandview Ave to August 21st at 7 o'clock. Do we have anything
7
else?
PM. Do we have anything else on there? You know?
No.
All right.
Okay.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, very good. Let's keep it rolling. Next up, let's go to 30 Smith's Lane. Want to read that one?
Public hearing will be held at Town Hall, 26 Evergreen Street, room 200 on Wednesday, July 17th, 2024 at 7:15 PM. Applicant Joseph Smith, 30 Smith's Lane, must seek a special permit per section 4.2A, non-conforming structure, use or lot subsection 4A in order to convert an existing
Okay, does that have it?
front deck porch into living space located within the front setback. I'll make a motion to open this hearing.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Very good. Take it away. Make sure that there's a little green dot you can see for sure. If not, hit the word push.
We all need to vote to open.
Oh,
You got a
sorry.
second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good, sorry. Now take it away.
All right, you not to be on, push, okay, yeah. At 30 Smith Lane, what we're looking to do
is take the existing front porch, which is 12 by 6, and turn that into a front entranceway. So we'll,
Like a
we'll stay,
mudroom?
excuse me?
Like a mudroom?
Actually, an actual entranceway. So what we'll do is we'll take the stairs from the front, put them on the side, and then come up into the new 12 by 6 entrance. And the reason being is his stairs to his house are really non-conforming. They're a hazard. The rises are like 8 1/4, the treads are 8 inches. They, next week, they're having a set of twins. The bedrooms are upstairs, and there's no way either one's gonna be able to carry the babies downstairs. So what we're looking to do is by taking the front porch and making it an entranceway, I can take out the front part of where the front door is and the 2 sides. Then I can actually put a set of stairs in 2 code with a 7 3/8 or a 7 1/4 inch riser and a 10-inch tread. But I need to make the porch an entranceway, or the stairs, if we try to put the stairs in, would land 6 inches away from the door, which we have no room. So by making the front porch a entryway, now I'll be able to put a set of stairs into code, and they'll be able to use the 2 bedrooms upstairs for the twins that are coming in 2 weeks, on the 30th, actually.
Would you please state your name?
It's Joe Smith. I'm Joseph's father.
Address too, sorry.
Excuse-
Address.
Address.
30 Smith's Lane.
No, your address.
Oh, my address is 426 Plain Street, Brockton, Mass.
Okay, thank you. All right. So you're removing the front stairs, which actually technically pushes your front setback back by the amount of stairs there.
Yes.
You're not changing anything in the front, you're just
Nope.
enclosing it.
We'll also be using the existing roof that's there on the front porch.
Okay.
So that roof, and that's the whole reason, one of the reasons that we're just gonna maintain that size is so I can leave the roof. I'll take the pine off, and then the way that beam sits around, that will be where our walls will go, which keeps it all right within exactly what is there.
That's actually probably better off this way. Doug?
No, your paperwork and everything, and every board you've been to before us.
Microphone.
It looks like you've done your homework.
Oh, we've tried. Thank you.
Lane?
I don't have anything except for in the packet that we have, the sewer department just said to watch out for the sewer connection during construction.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah, we've had everybody out marking, we've called Dig Safe, we've had everybody out marking and making sure that we're
Okay.
aware of what, I know his water line comes in.
are you
To the-
putting in new footings, is that why there's?
Yeah, well, yeah, the footings that are there now won't meet the code,
Okay.
so we're gonna be putting in the proper footings with proper frost protection, so we will be digging down the 4 feet. I know his water line does come in underneath his foundation, so we're gonna, and it's off to the right, but, you know, we just have to make sure that what we're putting back does meet the codes
Yep.
for right now.
Kevin?
No, I think it, not a problem at all.
Oh, okay. Bob?
No questions?
Marcia?
Oh, just a couple questions. You're gonna have the stairs moved,
So if you're looking at it, the stairs will be to the right-hand side, which will be, yeah.
okay,
Uh,
so it
yeah,
won't
my other
be
left.
toward the big tree, it'll be,
Well, that tree will be removed.
yeah, I was
That-
just trying to figure out.
That tree's dying, yeah, the tree that's right there,
It's gonna be towards that, the
Yes.
tree?
Yeah,
Okay.
towards the driveway.
All right.
so that way we'll use the driveway as a walkway.
And the door's going to be right?
Right on that side as well, and then as you're looking at the addition, there'll be 2 windows facing you, and then there'll be an extra window on the other side.
2 windows facing the street and
Facing
a
the
window?
street, yes.
Okay. That was all my questions. Otherwise, it
Yeah.
looks like a great plan.
Anyone from the public for or against this? That being said, Mr. Pinella, see your hand up over there.
I'm not aware that I have my hand up.
It's just where the mouse is.
Oh, is that what it is? Very good. Can I make a motion to close the hearing?
Make a motion. Close 30 Smith's.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I got a motion to approve the special permit as requested.
I'll make a motion to approve the special permit at 30 Smith Lane.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. So it's all five, including the alternate if needed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's keep my out of order going here. Next up on the agenda is going to be 113 Wapping Road. You want to read it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Public hearing will be held at Town Hall, 26 Evergreen Street, room 200, and via Zoom, to hear the petition of Priolo Wapping Realty LLC to request a comprehensive permit under Mass General Laws, Chapter 40B, to allow construction at 113 and 117 Wapping Road in Kingston of an age-restricted residential development consisting of 60 units on approximately 643,263 square feet of land. Traffic impact, no, site plan prepared. We already opened the hearing, so
Very good.
I don't need to make a motion.
Very good. Do we have anybody here for 113 Wapping?
I think he's outside.
Jason! Let's go, boys. You're up. You're up.
Yep.
You're on the clock.
Sorry for the delay.
No problem.
This letter is just a brief response to comments, I believe we can have. Copies.
I think we got it.
Is this his response?
Yeah, it's the same.
Oh.
I'm sorry for that. I sent it out late.
If anyone needs one. All right, take it away where we left off, if you can remember.
Trying my best. I got one more thing. Sorry. I may give you some of my notes, but that's okay. So, we've been, excuse me, for the record, my name is Bob Rigo.
Make sure your mic, is it on? Or just talk into it.
Talking.
Yes.
Gotta press the button, so the green light's on.
Does it turn off?
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, for the record, my name's Bob Rigo. I'm with Riverhawk Environmental. I'm here tonight with Glenn Priolo, the applicant for the project. We're here for a 40B project off Wapping Road. We have been in front of the Zoning Board of Appeals twice before. The first time we came in, we thought we were going to get water for the project, so we came in with a little bigger project. When we found out water was unavailable, we reduced it down and modified it somewhat. And during the last hearing, presented kind of an overview of that project. So we're down to, is it 32? Yeah, we're down to 32 duplex units on 16 lots. And those lots would be all separate lots. There'd be a duplex on each lot. There'd be a common septic system which services all 32 units, and there would be a private water supply well on each lot. That well would serve both duplex units. So one lot for a duplex, and then one drinking water well on each of those lots. So that was kind of the general concept for the plans. We did submit the plans to for engineering peer review and to Pat Brennan, and he was nice enough to review them, and we got comments back. So what I did was I prepared kind of a letter of how the anticipated response to each comment within that letter. And
Do you want him to go first, and then?
well, I mean, we could go through each of those comments if you want. I mean, there's really, most of them are waivers that we've requested and that, we still need. And that were just kind of parroted and then agreed that we need those. There was a few comments that were technical in nature that we'll be able to work out with Pat, and that'll be no problem to make sure that all those technical requirements are met. I did go through them all thoroughly, and I know there won't be any problems meeting them. There were a few comments that we have questions about that we want to put forth to the board and get your opinion on how we should proceed forward. And then once we have the answers to those, we can basically finish up the plans and get everything completed. So the major question or comment that
Should I have Mr. Brennan run through them, and then you can fire in as you go? So you're not skipping basically down to like 26, 52.
I mean, do you want to go through each one? I don't know that it's
Well, I want to
time.
make sure that, well, two things are covered here. The board realizes some of the things that, I mean, I don't need every single word written, whatever. Some of them, we've done this in the past where it's, this is normal. But if we can get go fast through some of them, and then ones that are actually aren't jiving, or this is the reason why, then go that way. That way there's more of a dialogue here. Instead of you just giving me the few things you have wrong, he might spark something with the board or the public. So let's do that. Mr. Brennan, you want to come up first and just...
Excuse me. Thank you. Pat Brennan, PGB Engineering. As was mentioned, I reviewed the project for the board, submitted a letter on July 2nd with several comments. The first portion of my letter went through the waivers that they requested. I'm not going to go through every single waiver. If you look at my letter, I bolded some of my comments on some of their waivers. So I'll just go through those real quick. One of their waivers is asking, there's a bylaw which says if there's more than one building on a single lot, there should be a minimum of 50 feet between such buildings. They do not have more than one building on a single lot, so I don't think that complies. However, some of their buildings are only about 14 feet apart.
Right.
From lot to lot, so they're very close proximity, so that's just a discussion point. The next one is in reference to a building permit, and I don't think that one needs to be waived, because I believe by issuance of the comprehensive permit, it gets to what they're looking for there.
Number 6?
It's just before, it's Section 10.1.c. No permit shall be issued unless the plans therefore and the intended use there fulfill in all respects of provisions of this bylaw, except as may have been specifically permitted otherwise by action of the Board of Appeals, and provided that a written copy of the terms governing such permission is submitted and attached to an application for and the resulting permit issued. So I think a comprehensive permit covers that,
Right.
if the comprehensive permit is issued. The next waivers are in the Board of Health regulations. Minimum property line setback. Title V has a 10-foot property line setback.
Whatever, as you're flying through.
That's the first one under the Board of Health regulations. This is still in the waivers. It's on page 3 of my letter.
I numbered it.
Okay, yeah, he numbered them a little differently. Basically, your local regs call for a 15-foot setback. They're about 13 and a half feet from the property line. But again, Title V is a 10-foot setback. They're looking for a waiver from all Conservation Commission bylaw requirements. There is, the duplex on Lot 9 is located within a 100-foot buffer, and the 2 open-air infiltration basins are located within a 100-foot buffer. And there's grading and riprap slope protection associated with duplex on Lot 9 that extend to about within 6 feet of the wetland. So they're going to have to file a notice of intent with Conservation anyway, but they only, if you waive that, they only have to adhere to the Mass Wetlands Protection Act, none of the local regulations. So they're asking for a blanket waiver from that. If you'd like, I can look into that a little bit further and see what kind of issues that might raise.
I know there's a riverbed back there.
Yeah. The next waiver that they're looking for is from the earth removal bylaw. And the one thing that I suggest is that test holes are required to confirm that no earth removal will occur within 4 feet of the seasonal high groundwater. And that's a state regulation when you're in a zone 2. And I believe we are here. Actually, we're not. Then under the subdivision rules and regs, there's a series of waivers that they're asking for. One is that a 50-foot right-of-way is required. They're proposing a 40-foot right-of-way. The outside diameter of the cul-de-sac turnaround, they're proposing at 106 feet. Your regulations call for 110. I suggested that they provide a swept path analysis to show that the fire department's largest apparatus can get around that circle. In the draft response letter that Mr. Rigo submitted this afternoon, he said that they will make that turn on the 110 feet, so they won't need that waiver. The next one is the proximity of a driveway to an intersecting street. I don't believe they need that waiver. The regulation is no closer than 65 feet. The closest driveway is 75 feet away. The next one is in relation to
Drainage pipe.
marking drainage easements with concrete bounds. They asked for a waiver from that. But there's also issues, they still need to show easements around a lot of the drainage facilities that they have out there. They have pipes running across the lots that they need waivers for, that they need easements for. There's some graded swales on some of the lots that they need easements for. So those all have to be shown on the plans. The next one, excuse me, is in relation to fire hydrants. They're not proposing a water main or anything in the street because it's the connection moratorium, but they have to provide some type of fire protection. So in my comments, I said that they need to kind of work that out with the fire department to come up with something that's acceptable to the fire department, whether they have to put holding tanks in the units or if they have to sprinkle them or whatever they need to do, they have to provide some type of fire protection. The other thing I said is they should consider installing the water main and fire hydrants in the event that that moratorium is lifted, then they can just connect right in and they have all of their infrastructure in place. So that's kind of a discussion point, I think. The next one is about cover over drainage pipes. That's not a big deal. The next one is about easements for the lots, for the drainage basins. I don't believe that they actually need that waiver. The next one, again, is about installation of a water main. Again, I think that's a topic of discussion. And the next one is one of the ones that I know Bob was going to talk about. There's a requirement that sidewalks be separated from the pavement by a seeded grass plot I believe it's a 4-foot strip that's required typically. They're showing the Cape Cod berm with the 4-foot sidewalk right against the Cape Cod berm. I recommend against that. With a Cape Cod berm, there is absolutely no protection for the pedestrian from a vehicle. You either want the grass strip, and it's more visual even than physical, but you either want that grass strip or a vertical curb to provide that protection. So I know that's one of the options that I believe Bob included in his response letter that they want to talk about. So I'll let him expand on that when he gets back up here. But that's something that I highly recommend against granting the waiver the way it's written right now. The next one is your subdivision rules and regs require granite curbing, slope granite curbing, and they're asking for the Cape Cod berms to be, so they're asking for that waiver. Again, the Cape Cod berms are not an issue if you have that separation to the sidewalk. And again, then the next one is the grass strip. So those are related. The next one is about bounds at all points of intersection. Your planning board rules and regs also say that the bounds are required at each lot corner. And they didn't have that, but they weren't showing those. So I know in Bob's response, he said that they would add that to the list to that waiver to waive the one, so that they would only basically mark out the right-of-way, all the changes in direction and curves on the right-of-way. So those are all the waivers that they went through and my comments on those. Then we get into my other comments generally on the project. My first one is the width of the sidewalk. In one place they showed it 5 feet, another place they showed it 4. I believe that in the response they said it was going to be 4. My next comment was about pavement and gravel base thicknesses for both the sidewalk and the road. There was some inconsistency between their details, so I believe they're going to make some changes there. My next one was that the zoning designation should say that it's within the commercial/industrial park zoning district and not the industrial district. My next one is that the curb radii at the roadway intersection is supposed to be a minimum of 30 feet. They were showing 25.5-foot radius. In the response, I saw that Bob said that they would increase those to the 30 feet. The next one is about the utility easements. They should be a minimum of 20 feet wide. As I mentioned before, easements are required for the drainage on some of the lots. However, for instance, there's a pipe that runs between lots 3 and 4, and those two the units on those two lots are only 17 feet apart, so they can't put a 20-foot easement between in a 17-foot corridor. So I believe they're going to do some reconfiguration, I believe, of the unit location, but also maybe ask for a waiver from that. Their landscape and lighting plan shows that the street trees on top of many of the proposed sewer force mains, drainage pipes, and the septic leaching field. I understand that they're going to modify those. The proposed bounds are shown to be within driveways in lots 3, 5, 13, and 15. In my experience, well, the bounds are always the last thing to go in a subdivision. In my experience, if there's a driveway there, they just put a nail in the driveway and they don't put a bound in. So I suggest a condition, if the project is approved, condition that they put that bound in and they have it flush with the driveway, because that nail's going to eventually go away. The bound will always be there. Especially if they're going to get waivers from some of the other bound locations. You want to make sure that there's enough out there. My next set of comments are about utility, stormwater, erosion control. Test holes required at each of the proposed infiltration facilities to verify depth of groundwater and soil texture. Mass DEP, the stormwater standards require that infiltration facilities be set back a minimum of 50 feet from wetlands. Both of their open-air basins are within that 50-foot setback, so they have to move those. And I saw in the draft response that they are going to move those out of there. So there's going to be some, that sounds easy, but it's pretty substantial when you have to move those basins around and get them outside that 50-foot setback. My next one was related to the modeling of the infiltration basins. My next one was about The models for the roof dry wells for the units. I understand that they're going to make some changes for that. And actually, I'm going to skip over a lot of these because they're really calculation-based and making some corrections to the calculations, and I don't think anybody here wants to hear about that. So then if I jump down, one of your rules and regs do not allow catch basins to be located within driveway entrances. There's lots 6 and 13, there's catch basins located in the driveways. I understand they're going to move those. The infiltration basins in their operation maintenance plan, they say to mow twice a year, which is what DEP recommends. However, I recommend that they mow them more often, like basically with regular lawn mowing, so that they don't get overgrown. When you say mow them twice a year, nobody ever does it, and they get overgrown, and it's all, they're useless. So mow them all the time, and they're maintained. I had some comments on the erosion control demolition plan. Those are pretty much editorial. Stabilized construction entrance, I said it minimum width to be 25 feet. Then a riprap detail, detail on the basin spillway, some backfill materials. These are all kind of minor edits for the stormwater system. As I said before, additional test holes for the drainage infiltration systems. They're also required for the proposed shared septic system. There's no test holes shown in that area, so that when they go through the Board of Health process, they need to have those tests. They need to perform those test holes and have the Board of Health witness them. They show a 1,500-gallon septic tank for each duplex. However, some of the duplexes, at least 10 of them, would have 6 bedrooms, and a 1,500-gallon tank is too small for 6 bedrooms, so they have to make changes there for the septic designs. There's some comments that I had on the actual design of the septic system and the leaching field that goes along with that. There's some issues with the Kingston Board of Health regulations for private wells, because they're showing a private well on each lot with the shared septic system. The private wells have to have a minimum yield of 5 gallons per minute to be a usable well for a dwelling, so they need to show that they have that. They also have, the Board of Health has regulations for setbacks for the private wells, 50 feet from a sewer line, 25 feet from property lines. Almost all of them are shown within 50 feet of sewer force mains, one's within 3.5, and most of the wells are also shown within 25 feet of property lines. So they're going to need waivers if the wells are going to be located in these locations. The proposed sewer force mains are shown within a foot of the proposed property lines, and the one serving the duplex on Lot 4 is on top of a drain line. Within 1 foot of a property line, if they have to replace that, they're not going to be able to replace it without going over the property line. So they have to provide more, some more space for those. And then I did go through, I'm not a traffic engineer, I did go through the traffic impact report. Residential use with 32 dwellings, it's not a high traffic thing. So I didn't have any issues. The traffic report said that there's adequate sight distance, and the traffic volume would not impact any of the area intersections, and I agree with that. It's not a huge traffic generating project. So that was the fast version.
Yeah, it's pretty thorough for a fast
If
version.
anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but if you want him to kind of,
Before you sit down, let me ask the board real quick.
yep.
Anyone on the board have anything, quick questions for him? I shouldn't say quick questions, any questions? All right, like to respond back as needed?
Yeah, if I could, I'll just probably have,
Thanks, Pat, for that. Appreciate it. So, the big question that we need the answer to proceed forward is the question about the roadway and the sidewalk and the grass strip. During some initial meetings, I know the chairman liked the idea of not having the grass strip, but we understand Pat's concerns, and we're putting forth kind of two options, I have two suggested options. Let me get to that section. The first being, we maintain the grass strip, but in order to fit everything in, the front yards are all already somewhat, close to the homes. So we don't want to eat up any more real estate and make the roadway layout wider. So the suggestion would be to make the pavement width 22 feet, have a 3-foot grass strip, and then a 4-foot sidewalk. So get that grass strip in there. So 22 feet of pavement, a foot of Cape Cod berm, then a 3-foot grass strip, and then a 4-foot sidewalk. The other option would be to maintain the 24-foot wide paved road, put a vertical bituminous concrete berm, like a formed berm that's 6 inches high, and back that right up with the sidewalk, and have a 4-foot sidewalk on the back of that 6 inch wide by 6 inch tall berm.
I'll put it to the board. The only reason I like the grass strip is because it's almost impossible to maintain.
Yeah,
Just
like
being-
landscaping and maintenance.
It's just almost I get why he's coming from, where it does delineate something. But to be perfectly honest, the 6-inch concrete curb to me is much better because, hey, if you're willing to destroy your tires to try to get over it, it should slow you down at pretty good speed.
Yeah, asphalt.
Oh, I think it's a concrete. I think.
Yeah,
Oh.
awesome.
It's just asphalt.
Asphalt, yeah. I use
Snowplow wipes that out every time now.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
Says snowplow wipes it out every time. But, I mean,
It'll be backed up by, if the sidewalk backs it up, it'll be backed up by, dense grade material and then 4-foot thick sidewalk. So it'll be pretty tough. It won't be like a freestanding berm that they do get pushed out easy. This will have a different dynamic and it'll stay in place.
always height to me is better than no height for anything. And like I said, I get what you're saying. The 2-3 inches gives you a little more protection and I guess for eye contact, but it doesn't slow a vehicle down in any way.
Right, correct. That's right.
So,
And there are driveway openings along both sides, a bunch of them. So it's not like you have a continuous berm. That sidewalk is going to extend through the driveways, each of the driveways. So there's driveways intersecting the streets with no berm and no grass strip.
I can ask.
That's better than a Cape Cod berm.
Oh, anything's better than Cape Cod berm. I can ask anyone on Zoom want to speak into this at all? I don't think anybody there cares about this, but I like height. I won't lie. Anything?
We all care about it, actually.
Oh, well, what do you think? What would be better?
I don't know what would be better, but my question is the sidewalk concrete or is the sidewalk asphalt?
Asphalt.
Well, then everybody's going to think it's a road. So you really need more protection rather than less. And maybe a concrete sidewalk would give better, less heat island effect, better, make overall longevity and pleasure in the neighborhood.
What about that? What about having asphalt curb, but then the actual sidewalk is concrete for 4 feet?
That wouldn't look right, because the asphalt would break before the concrete will.
Well, I guess her reasoning makes sense. You got two differentiating colors unless you were to stripe the whole thing. And like I said, the concrete where the people walk is the stronger of the two.
It's also nicer to walk on it.
It's also more maintenance. It's got to be homeowner association, so somebody's going to take care of all of that. So we want to.
Need a microphone, please.
Tell them that.
Yeah, the applicant's indicating that it's also a maintenance issue in the long term. for the concrete. And he happens to be a concrete contractor, so he's very familiar with it.
I'm trying to think what would make it more, I mean, other than, the grass strip, I understand it, but if we're gonna keep it Cape Cod berm and a grass strip, that, it doesn't solve anything. I mean, a runaway, anything will fly over that and.
So
especially
I
since
think
we're at
it's a
hill.
good idea to have the vertical berm and give the differentiation.
But do we stripe it? Heavy striping? I mean, I get what she's saying, it's just gonna be one big tarred area. Go ahead,
Good
Jason.
evening, Jason Silva, Community Development and Building Commissioner. I think one of the things, and if you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think subdivision control in Kingston allows 22-foot wide roads. So the subdivision rules and regulations for the planning board allows for a 22-foot wide road, and they've proposed a 22-foot wide road, an additional 1 foot of asphalt, a 3-foot green belt, and, you know, and the 4-foot sidewalk. I think what's important to understand that really hasn't been expressed is the scaling of the front yards. Understand that some of these front yards, at least the initial plans, are only showing 17 feet of distance or 20 feet of distance. And so what you end up with is a sidewalk that ends up through the middle or perceptively through the middle of some people's front yards. So what they've tried to do is clearly squeeze the pavement down to 22 feet, still give that sidewalk and that separation for safety. The asphalt curbing, albeit a vertical separation between the sidewalk and the road, is really not something like our highway department or subdivision control through the planning board would actually entertain, to be honest.
It's a private road.
Understandably, but what I'm saying is it's not a standard that's even applied or a secondary standard that's applied at the planning board.
But I've seen roads that are built.
Cape Cod berm is.
Right, but I've seen through planning board where they put a little bit of granite in, and then the rest is all Cape Cod berms.
No, true. Cape Cod berm is an acceptable alternative, but an asphalt vertical berm is typically not an alternative to vertical granite curbing, angle granite curbing, or Cape Cod berm.
How about this? How about concrete curbing? That way you have a color difference there.
I understand that, but if you go down to the 22-foot road and you have a 3-foot separation, asphalt, I mean, we can put the street trees in the 3-foot.
Which is even worse, because they're just gonna grow into the asphalt and smash
Well,
it.
but they're gonna deter people from running over kids like we're trying to do, 'cause you
You could have a street tree every 25 feet.
Yeah, but I mean, but you gotta understand the separation, you can see the building layout, so you've got a.
How do you maintain the trees in times like this?
We have them in all our subdivisions have trees, and they carve as 25-foot trees, you know, I mean, you're still got, I guess what I'm trying to say is, you're gonna have trees in these front yards.
Yep.
Then you're gonna have 30-foot driveway openings, so you're basically cutting the driveway, where you end up with sidewalk, the trees are gonna be in front of it, because they're gonna be in front of the buildings. Then you're gonna have driveway openings to the garages, so there's still a lot of openings going through. So if you have a grass separation and a Cape Cod berm and trees or plantings along that, I mean, what I'm trying to do is keep the maintenance. I know what whoever was on the computer there about the concrete. The only thing about concrete is it's going to be a homeowners association. It's got to be maintained. They got to pay fees, you know.
Yeah, but that doesn't, once it's in, it's pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I'd rather care about a kid getting hit by a runaway car than I would about 3 feet of grass in between a Cape Cod berm.
Well, the asphalt berm and the tar that we spoke about the first time, that seemed satisfactory back then.
Well, I mean, people are putting doubt in my mind that there's no color breakup. There's nothing to, you know.
Well, we could always line the road, you know. We could stripe the road like a highway. So you have a separation at the thing, you know, and you've got.
I mean, I'll pull the board.
It gives detail, you know.
I just know Cape Cod birds are a joke.
Yeah, but Cape Cod burns are pretty much standard in a lot of places.
That doesn't matter.
Well,
that statement is a crap statement.
Just
I don't
because
care
one
about
town
that.
wants all granite curbing,
You know.
doesn't make it a standard and say it's 100% right. I mean, we've done vertical curb with tar, and we've done Cape Cod burn.
I mean, you're asking to get away from granite curbing. Is what you're asking. So you're asking
Right.
this, and you want this. So I'm trying to find somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, and that's where we were.
You were asking for down here. And,
Well, where do you want
I mean, we could just say put granite curbing in and call it a day.
Yeah, we're not putting, we're gonna, I mean, we gotta, you know, the other thing, I mean, it's, this comprehensive permit that you guys are looking at, there's a lot of other details in it that aren't like a regular subdivision. I mean,
Right.
you're giving 8 units that cost money, you lose money to give those back to the town to meet their housing. So that's the whole idea of give and take and some allowances.
How many acres is this?
This is, just think under 20, just under 20, I believe.
120, and you're in an R40, so you could probably put, if you're lucky, 10 houses in there.
Yeah, or you could put commercial, industrial, like, you know, I mean, it's the same thing. You know,
Yeah.
you can do whatever.
I'm just saying, I'll pull the board. I'm trying to get.
Yeah.
It's either that, or you're gonna have to put a pipe every 4 feet under the asphalt to make it so they could put irrigation in there to maintain that grass area.
Yeah, we don't, I mean, we don't even irrigate the trees in subdivision. But, I mean, we've got 150 of them over in Carver we planted in August 2 years ago, and there ain't one dead tree. I mean,
People who move in there are gonna wanna make it look good, and I know anybody who has it, it's almost impossible to maintain.
and
It's
we
usually-
we want to put the tree, this is just a suggestion for your separation. We try to put the trees in the front yards, you know? We put them other side of the sidewalk, in everybody's front yard gets the tree. That's how we do it usually in front of the houses, you know? Because there's so many houses here, it's all house. You know, so it's not like long stretches of road where there's nothing. At the far end where the cul-de-sac is, you've got long driveways, there's just private driveways, you know?
Right.
So coming up the road, like I say, it's townhouses, basically, the condos, duplexes, but
I'll pull the board. I just know putting that 3-foot zone and putting trees in there. I mean, it's a great idea on paper, as long as there's no time and no growth. So as long as these trees don't grow any, and as long as they don't die and then whatever, and have to replace them, which is almost impossible when they're a certain size. Go up to Boston, see how those trees are doing well against those brick areas.
There's plenty of subdivisions you can go with.
Those are only 20, 30 years old.
Right over the street. I mean,
So
this is just like I say. I don't
I'm
want to
on
put it there. I can if you
I'm
want.
only one person.
Or we can. The other thing we could do is, I'd rather see a concrete curb. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you rather concrete curb than which? I'd rather regular concrete curb against the sidewalk. If we're gonna do
That's
that.
my point. It gives you
If we do that, then
blacktop,
exactly.
white, blacktop, trees.
Yeah. And it gives you separation, and it's
I mean,
clean.
better than I have. I have dirt for my sidewalks where I live.
Like I say,
so.
I know what you're saying. We do a lot of Cape Cod burn. That's what I'm saying. Huh?
Once do it up the side.
Yeah, and I mean, how about we do one side where the sidewalk is?
Oh, I guess that was half of my stuff, other than maybe the hardest curve. You know, if there's a downward angled curve, maybe in that zone, so someone doesn't just launch off into the woods.
Which one now?
I don't. This is a 2D drawing. I don't think people realize that there's a hill.
Yeah, but the cut on.
It's
cut
not
on
in
that
3D,
site-
so the people up top coming down the hill, and there's only like 2 inches, maybe an inch of snow on top of that nice sheen, and you start picking up speed in your Cadillac, and you have to make that first curve.
I don't think that grades much after we do the cut, because we're doing a significant cut going into the place to take that rise out.
3 degrees?
I don't know, what is he,
2 degrees?
You know, I didn't bring a printout of the profile.
I'm
so
just
I
saying,
don't
that
know
my
off
point
the
is,
top
we're
of my
arguing
head.
something
It's
in
probably
2 degrees, I mean, 2 dimensions.
Yeah.
It's not, yeah, I don't know if Pat has it, but they're not, the roads aren't that steep at any point.
Yeah, it's not like this lot, the way we designed it, we're cutting in, so, I mean, it's, but I mean, does concrete curbing to an asphalt sidewalk?
Oh, I'm just saying,
But I mean, you guys like
I
that
want the
better?
concrete where the kids are gonna be.
Yeah, but do you like that better if we just did that, and met the sidewalk to the?
Yeah, I mean, anything that's more protective
Yeah,
to
so
the
asphalt
sidewalk
concrete
zone.
curb.
Yes.
You're
You
up.
know?
Okay,
Do-
yeah,
we do
so
concrete on both
vertical,
sides or
we'll
one
go
side?
with it
Well,
20.
that's what he was, you know,
But you got houses on both sides.
At the bottom, right. Well, wherever where's the sidewalk gonna be?
It's part of the profile. So vertical
Yeah,
concrete
so I
curb
figured the smallest of the.
on the
of
right
line,
side,
Yeah.
and Cape Cod berm on the rest of it.
I'll pull the board. I'm just trying to make it as safe
Yeah,
as
that-
possible,
I mean, that sounds like a
especially
reasonable
wherever
solution.
kids are gonna be running around.
Mhm.
Unless we ask for a nice speed hump, like I've
Speed bumps.
seen around town.
Skip the curb and give this speed bump.
Instead of speed hump, one of those speed humps.
Yeah.
Lane, what is your general idea? I know you're in a slower zone where you live.
I have no opinion on this.
No one can get up to speed where you live.
Yeah.
No, I don't have any opinion. We don't
Doug.
even have signs.
Doug, you lived on a thorough way for a little while there.
I like the idea of the concrete curb, and I like the idea of at least giving the trees a shot.
Right, yeah, getting them out of the asphalt jungle. Kevin,
I like the concrete curb, the trees in the middle of the yard, so they're not growing into the street. And, because it's 17 and a half feet front yard, you park a car there, it's gonna be pretty much close
Right.
to the sidewalk right there.
right, I'll probably take away the Bob,
I really don't have a huge problem with the concrete, the Cape Cod berm. Like a white stripe next to it would delineate the two. And in my experience with placed concrete curb, that gets hit by a plow, it's hard to maintain it. Now you have to go back and try to pour concrete and match it, and it falls apart, especially down here with the salt and everything else. Personally, I have no problem with the Cape Cod berm, so just maybe a white stripe next to it or something if you want to delineate the two. That's all I can think of. I just think for long-term maintenance, simplicity, that might be the way to go.
I mean, I want granite, but they don't want that.
I know it's a
Marcia?
huge cost.
The road is going to be a private roadway? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes.
Okay. And it will be maintained by the homeowners association then, correct?
No, the town usually does.
Well, again, is it your understanding that the town is not going to maintain the road? I'm just trying to get out ahead of these private road issues.
My understanding with a private road in Kingston,
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I didn't hear
sorry,
that.
my understanding with a private road in Kingston, like, in general, a private road, the infrastructure, the asphalt, sidewalks, trees in the middle that die, everything would be the homeowners association's responsibility.
Yeah.
We try to design things so that part of it lasts, so they're not dealing with that thing, they're just dealing with the yards. The town, I was told, would plow it
Right.
because it's over 3 houses.
will.
Okay. and
There's a
that's fine.
policy, the select
And
board
that's fine,
adopted.
and that's fine, like I say, but the actual road, the infrastructure and everything, it would be a private road, and the owners would be
Who
responsible.
will fill the potholes in it?
Well, let's hope that
So-
wouldn't
so
happen
the
for a
whole-
long
So the
time.
holder there, this is going to be an HOA no matter what. This is not intended to be given to the town when it's voted to.
I don't think we can,
Yeah.
because with the shared system and all the different aspects of it, there's gonna have to be
It has to be an HOA.
a small
no matter what.
HOA to cover the maintenance areas, like for the landscape and then the entrance. It's not gonna be crazy on that part of it, because we're gonna keep it so that, they're basically a duplex lot, it's a condex. So you got a lot line down the middle of that house, and each person's responsible for their yard, It's not like when we do a condo that there's gonna be an association, they're gonna take care of everybody's yards and everything, they're gonna take care of the common areas,
To help you and your engineer, because I know he's your number 2 guy on this, I am going to ask for an HOA to be up and running before the last sellable piece of property is released at all.
We set that up at the beginning of the.
I understand that, but it has to be up. And so we have a problem with another 40B where at the very end, they had that same game going, and when he popped out, the HOA was basically defunct. There was no one running anything, and they had no idea what was going on. and they were sitting, they had no idea there was supposed to be an HOA, some of the houses. And then when they asked for money to go inspect bridges and fix stuff, people were like, that's not in my deed, and in fact, it was in their deeds.
And I spoke to Jason about that too, and like I said, he wanted some signage saying it was an HOA and privately maintained and everything. The HOA.
Especially since you have wells, you have
And then now the wells would go into a different thing. Like when you do these condexes, each lot becomes basically a condominium.
Right.
So those two people are responsible for their well, their common like roof or something, just whatever that could affect both buildings. And that's all written into the condo docs, which my lawyer would do. The part you were talking about on the HOA, that would be set up from the beginning. They put in the reserve, they usually put in, like there's usually like condos, there's a 2-month contribution to it that everybody puts in, so it builds it up as it goes.
I mean, as long as it's writing, you don't have to, you can
Yeah,
set
no,
it
I'm
up
saying
any way
it's-
you want.
But I'm saying that's how we do it, so if you guys want something different, I would have to know. Yeah?
No, I mean,
Can I
go ahead,
just-
sir. Go ahead. Sorry.
Can I just
Yeah,
finish?
yeah.
I just have a couple more questions. There's not going to be a sidewalk around the cul-de-sac, I take it?
We usually go halfway around past the buildings, just past the last driveway.
So, if you lived at that house, right at the, it would be the top of a hill, I guess, it would go to that last house.
Goes to the end of the cul-de-sac, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the sidewalk,
Yeah, it goes, I don't know if you can see over here, but it goes all the way around to the end, to the
it
other
goes
side.
up one side of the road and around the cul-de-sac and then stops. Okay. And I'm having a very hard time, you're using this terminology about a Cape Cod berm and asphalt curbs versus concrete versus granite. A picture, could you do an illustration of what you're proposing? A picture tells 1,000 words. If you want to sell us, no, not now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I mean, about what you're proposing to do, like an illustration about you're going to put the trees in the front yard.
But the long and short of a Cape Cod berm or a concrete berm, a Cape Cod berm just comes off on like a 30-degree angle off the top.
Again, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
All right, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I just don't, you say a Cape Cod berm comes off at 30 degrees, means nothing to me. All right? For me, it would be very helpful. I think it would be helpful in selling it to maybe the neighbors in terms of what their neighborhood is, you're proposing their neighborhood will look like if you're granted the waivers that you're seeking.
We can't deviate after the fact.
Excuse me?
Like, the road's gonna be number one cut in there.
I understand that, but I'm just saying, if they just show an illustration.
Oh, I thought you said the asked as he was building it, asked the townspeople what they wanted.
No. I'm talking about the people
I thought
that
you
are-
meant the people living in there, yeah.
Excuse me. The septic tanks on each lot are going to be used by both units,
Correct.
okay?
Correct.
And that'll be part of the condominium declaration and not the homeowners association.
That's correct, yes.
And so the condominium declaration is going to deal with a lot of the common features, infrastructure.
No.
No.
The HOA would deal with the infrastructure, the condo associations, it's basically you do condo docs for each building. The
yeah.
two people are the sole owners of that condo.
And lot, so they'll own the real estate, two people will own
But the
each lot.
force main that leads from the leach field, that leads from the septic tank, that pushes the
That's
effluent,
HOA, all drainage, anything.
that's going to be the HOA.
Right.
And it's not going to be part of but the septic tank is part of the condo. I'm just
Correct.
trying to understand.
Yeah.
Because it's a holding tank, and them two unit owners can pump themselves, and, they just
Yeah.
get on.
Those two unit owners are going to be responsible for a pump station then?
Correct. There's a septic tank and a pump station on each lot.
Going to
which
be
will
governed
two-
by the condo by the
Correct.
condo declaration for that lot and not the homeowners
That's correct.
association.
And then it'll pump out to the main, there'll be a shut-off in the road, and that's where it will become part of the homeowners association. They'll own the force main all the way up to the shared septic. And the
Shuts
shared
off in
septic.
the road from the...
From the
from each
lot, from the pump chamber on the individual lots, yes. Yep.
So getting back to the roadways, when a pothole comes up, which happens a lot, it seems, it will be the homeowners association to fix that.
That is correct, yes. Yep.
And when the road needs to be resurfaced, they would have to pay to have it resurfaced.
Correct.
And when, whatever curbing that you put in, if it's this concrete, and Bob said that gets damaged easily by a snow plow, that'll be the town snow plowing. The homeowners association is gonna repair the curbing.
Correct.
It's a private road. Anything in there is responsibility of the homeowner association. Except
Or the
for-
owner of the road. Is the homeowners association
Leave it on the
gonna,
ground. Nobody's looking at it anyways.
They own the whole property from the street out.
the homeowners association is gonna hold title to the roads?
Correct.
Well,
For them?
yes. So it's kind of.
He'll actually own it until it's finally done and given to the
I
HOA.
know, but that is, again, he's gonna be a really good guy until he
No,
gets to
no, no.
wash
My
his
point is,
hands.
he's actually held by a bond. We'll hold him by for a bond from the
Yeah.
street.
We've been there before. I'm just trying to
So
learn
any
from
any
our
common areas, the roads, the utilities, all the infrastructure, drainage, everything, that becomes part of the HOA. So if there's 32 people in there, there's 32 shares in the road, common space, anything besides the lots. The actual individual lots are owned by the two people that are residing in that building.
Yeah. There might be some differences with a private road and ownership to the middle, and I don't think the homeowners association will have fee in the road. I think that because it's a private road, each lot on the adjacent side will own to the center line of the road, which is just how all private roads work in Mass, unless they,
Each
maintain
homeowner,
fee.
again, that's slightly different than the HOA is gonna own the whole title to the road. So you're saying each...
you know what,
That's more of a lawyer
questions,
question, and
yeah.
my lawyer said that we were going to, the way this is going to run, the HOA is going to
own the fee.
own and maintain
The
all
road.
common space. Anything that's commonly used and owned by everybody, the HOA is going to own. Those lots, it's a line right down the middle of the duplex. They each own their own half. They're responsible for their own yards and whatever they do with that, just like anybody's, just like if you have.
Oh, I don't have a problem with each duplex,
Yep.
each lot that you're
Yeah.
creating. I'm just now talking about the access, the road that, prime drivers, the post office.
So they're
people are
saying that
gonna
it's the
drive.
HOA.
Okay, I just want that to be clear, that it is the HOA.
I-
Well, we
and
could-
we're
we
gonna-
could
we
take
can
a look
put-
at their documents
Yeah,
before.
yeah, yeah.
Alright.
We're
And
gonna,
then we can also put a condition in that's why I said the HOA has to be fully
Right.
active and working before the last,
I understand.
yeah,
how
sellable,
the
not
HOA 's
affordable, but last for-profit house is released for occupancy. And just hold it.
Right.
And make it as part of our comprehensive permit.
And my lawyer would, like I say, he had set up 16 individual condo lots with condo, everything recorded, and the same thing with the HOA. That'll be all laid out and,
And you're looking to work from front to back.
yes. Yeah, I want it, the front is easy to access and everything now, so,
But that's the way you're looking to do your work schedule.
yeah. We're gonna hit the whole site, it's just.
Right, but you're looking to
start building- As
finish.
soon as we can start building, after we get a road stubbed in, we'll be building from the front to back.
Question? Anything else?
No.
So I don't know if I get you any answers there. We had 2 Cape Cod, 1 don't care. I want granite curbing. I mean, I want a concrete. I can live with concrete. I just want whatever the area where the kids are going to be the most. Being that this is a downhill gradient, even if you said it's less than 1%, which I know it isn't. That zone is the most highly protected zone
Yeah.
coming down, especially since even though people say there's never going to be kids there, and they're never. Is this still age restricted?
No, this isn't age restricted. This is
Yeah.
regular
So
size.
when the kids
All
never see grandma or grandpa,
All I say about that, Paul, is, I understand what you're saying about the Cape Cod, don't know why is it kind of split, but you got Cape Cod Road, and you've got driveways at every, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This driveway open, so that sidewalk is utilized right through the driveway.
I just
so-
want a damage zone,
Yeah.
so that
You want,
anybody,
like I say, you want like more designation, we put a line down the road and we line the road like it's a.
I can't see the line when I'm doing this, you know,
Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
email you back real quick. Priola needs me to get back to him real quick, so I need something that deviates my car back into the center of the road.
Amazon parks wherever they want to park.
So
So,
the other question is, are you guys, so my position on this, we can't get water from the town, so we're gonna do the wells. I'll talk to the fire department, it wasn't addressed, but if, I don't wanna sprinkle the buildings, but if you,
yeah, how you gonna get hydrants?
well, I'm saying if the town wants a hydrant in 500 feet, so it meets your regs, we just stub in a 6-inch main to a hydrant. And then we meet your regulations for,
I get what you're saying.
you know what I mean? Because we can't,
I get what you're saying.
with Kingston, I have no idea what they're gonna do with water anyways, you know, they don't want building.
Someone said that
water.
you're away from the microphone.
You know, like I say, because I went back and forth with them on all of this, so,
Who, fire?
no, I'm talking about the water department,
Right.
so. We don't know when they'll have water, or what they'll have, so putting water lines in and doing all those wells is kind of redundant, you know?
Your projects in Carver,
Yep,
If you can,
those were wells, correct?
Carver is town water,
Oh, they've got
just
water now?
because we're on the Middleborough line,
Okay.
yeah, so.
I didn't know if you had a history.
So
with
you would
this
ask
before.
just about the sidewalks, I just had a question about conservation.
Yeah, he popped over to fire hydrant, he popped over to water,
Yeah.
having a fire
Oh,
hydrant,
wait.
which I know is a big one I have, and this fire has to sign off.
I know that we have the conservation agent on here, so I'd like to hear, because
Well,
they're
it's-
trying
all
to
right.
waive.
Finish it, whatever, we can use him, oh, did you want to say something real quick?
I just wanted to ask, have you looked into having a fire reservoir? I lived in a private development,
Yeah, I mean-
and we had a homeowners association, and we didn't have town water.
Right.
And we had to have fire protection, and, you know, the developer built a concrete fire protection. It was like it looked like a big bunker, and there was a hydrant that it fed to.
We can do a well in that, but like I say, if the town doesn't want residential hookups for water because they don't have the flow. But if they want just a line stubbed into a hydrant for emergency, so if you have to put out a fire, you know, they can, you know.
But there needs to be, the hydrant needs to access to some water, you know.
What he's saying is, the town may not give you water to your house.
Hookup, but they may do a hydrant.
They may let you put a 6-inch line or a 4-inch
Yeah,
line.
yeah, just a hydrant
in,
An 8-inch,
for emergency.
Yeah.
main, or whatever.
so they could at least stab
Tap
in
into the
with
hydrant.
500 or 1,000, whatever they
Yeah, I mean, we
require.
can, because if we come in, we got a 1,000-foot road, if we come in the 500 feet, you're
You're
in
halfway up.
distance to
Right.
each of them. And then you have, I mean.
Well, you almost kill off 2 of his questions he had on there, putting a line all the way up there.
I'm
And,
sure there'll be more, come on.
But I'd be curious if the water department, I don't know why they wouldn't let you do it for fire suppression.
And we can, you know, she made a good point, I mean, we can do that. If it comes down to the fire department wanting this, I mean, I think if there's a hydrant out front and you're filling.
I would think they would
trucks,
want a hydrant more than, one hooked up to the main line than they would.
Then
than
that
a-
has to
than
be
a-
maintained also.
You could control that a lot easier.
Yeah, but they, fire department.
Have you asked the water
No, I mean,
department
if you
whether
did a
that
separate
would be
water
an
tank.
exception to the moratorium that's currently
I
in
haven't
effect?
really asked the water department anything yet, because I'm just waiting to see what you guys had to say.
All right, no, I think you should ask him, because I
Yeah.
would think from both standpoints, it's probably.
I guess what I'm saying is even if the town doesn't let us hook up, we have the other avenue that we
Right,
can do in
exactly.
the area with a well and a.
I would just think
So
both of them would-
We have, it's something that we can.
They have this on 19, they've addressed it.
No, I know, but I think he was
Yeah.
putting it out there.
Just so we get your guys'
Yeah,
opinion on
yeah.
it, because we want to try to do it.
All right, you want to bring up the, what do you want to bring up, Lane?
I think they're waiving all, forgot what number it was.
Conservation Commission?
Yeah, the local,
Right. Mr. Pennell, you there? I'm sure you're here for this.
number 9. It just said no response required. I'm not, I don't know why.
It's,
Yeah, we're, so, yeah, I think, blanket waivers from the local wetlands regulations aren't really, acceptable on other 40B projects. We've required that, they spell out each each individual standard that they're looking to have waived, and that allows ZBA to review all those waivers individually. It's done for the subdivision standards and other regulations, so I don't think that's unreasonable. Just from a little bit of review of this new report, I had some questions on whether any of the wetland flags were reviewed at all, or the riverfront area boundaries, like, you know, if the stream banks were flagged and reviewed. One of the bigger concerns, you know, the septic system as it's designed appears to be out of commission jurisdiction completely, which would be, you know, really good. I did submit a comment earlier that I would think the board would be a little concerned about septic serving that many units being sort of elevated above that stream where it moves around. But my bigger concern is that the town owns a piece of land directly next to this, directly next to where the septic leaching field is proposed to be installed. And I believe it's water department land. And I don't know that for certain, but by recollection, I believe it is owned by the water department. And the stream that is on the plan actually seems to loop around onto that parcel. And I would want to confirm that that stream is actually, you know, more than 200 feet from where they're proposing to put the septic system. If you look on the plan where they have the reserve locations, at least one of the reserve locations, just based on my measurements off of the plan and our town GIS, looks like that's pretty well within the riverfront area, to where at least that stream is shown on GIS. Me in the field, we really have no idea where that is. So to me, that would be important to figure out. I understand it wasn't on their property, but since the town owns that property, that may be something that you know, they can ask for permission to do, just so that they get clarification that they're actually out of jurisdiction there. Beyond that, I mean, that is meaningful, not just based on regulation, but on the state level, whether or not that stream was perennial or not would be meaningful. On the local, it would have a 200-foot riverfront area regardless, so that would be a waiver that they'd have to ask for if they were within that jurisdiction, and especially based on, like I said, the topography there, particularly on that town of Kingston parcel where that stream is down at the bottom of the hill, and this leaching system is basically going to be right on the top of the hill, and if that's within riverfront area, that would be important for the riverfront area to maintain, you know, the ability to filter any of that before anything reaches the stream that does connect out, I believe, to the Jones River, and also the fact that I believe is water department land. They would likely want that to be, you know, not contaminated at all if they're running septic release. So I think that some of those things need to be looked at. I think depending on, you know, if this really was within 200 feet of where they're proposing the leaching field, I think that would also be a problem for the Wetlands Protection Act, not just the local bylaw. And just based on the peer review, I think you sort of already covered that comments you had about the stormwater, including those infiltration basins not meeting the WPA standards. A lot of local regulations in that sense would be pretty similar, but we'll see that when we get a detailed list of waivers. And that's pretty much it, unless you have questions for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just respond to one of Matt's bigger comments was about the resource area delineation? So we did, Matt, if you can still hear me, we did file an ANRAD. It was probably 4 years ago now, so it is past the, you know, the deadline. But that ANRAD was filed with the Conservation Commission when Maureen was the agent, and it was peer reviewed by Horsley and Witten. So all of the resource areas and the bordering vegetated wetlands, the riverfront areas were all delineated and approved by the commission, including the location of that off-site perennial stream where it's off the site. I'm sorry?
Is that something you can get in minutes, or you have in writing?
Well, it's a recorded order. The Kingston Conservation Commission issued an order of resource area delineation. So, and again, it was peer reviewed by Horsley and Witten.
Yeah, but I'm just saying you're stating it, so do you...
No, it's, yeah, by order,
It's
it's
recorded.
issued by the Conservation Commission. It's part of the public record.
I understand you're stating it, but my point is unless I'm seeing it, or you have it
Oh, I
can
have
say-
copies of the order,
That's
absolutely.
what I'm asking. I'm
Yeah,
asking.
and
you know,
I-
or,
and-
that's why I
and
said,
I
do you have the
believe it was
minutes, or do you
also-
have you have the engineering, so you could something that he can physically
Yes.
look at.
Yes, definitely.
All right, thank you. That's what I was asking. Continue. Sorry.
Yeah, so that's the big one. So the resource areas were all set, and that's what we're basing our design on, was those delineated and approved resource areas. You know, the State Wetlands Protection Act does have a 3-year window, but it's close to that window, and you know, we felt because it was peer reviewed and there's been no changes to the site, that there was no changes in the delineation of the resource areas.
Mr. Pinello?
Yeah, I'll check our records and see if that stream was delineated and approved. I just didn't see anything on this plan, so
Yeah.
I'll take a look. And then as far as when you would get in front of the Conservation Commission, that would think you're probably gonna have to freshen up those flags. So.
Okay. Yeah, we can. All right, thank you.
What about,
We'll do that.
Are you able to get, well, since you got to talk to the water department anyways about putting in a fire hydrant, can you ask them about that adjacent land and what their feelings are about it?
Sure.
Just, I mean, a good comment. You are putting a septic system near.
Well, we will.
Yeah.
And you guys do have, like I said, this is a recorded document, everything's,
Yep.
we already went through peer review and everything on it.
Yep.
So everything that we're showing on our plan
Is outside the
is
resource.
recorded, it's outside the resource areas. The town of Kingston's water all back there, there's nothing.
You gotta go to the mic.
You know, down, you know, the river being downstream from our septic system, I mean, Title V is designed, you know, for infiltration and
Yep.
breakout and everything, so it really doesn't affect it.
I just want the T's crossed and the I's dotted. Jason, you're coming up for a reason.
Yeah, I'm sure going to have more public comment or comments that, you know, back and forth, but before it goes off too far, I had a few comments I just wanted to put before the board. I did sit with Glenn and sit down and go through the plans and work out a few things that I thought could benefit in the plan, and a couple things that really haven't been discussed that I just want to put out in front of the board. So I'd asked, hopefully with some more details, maybe the board could get an approval tonight with a series of conditions that would allow for the applicant to come back and show the board some of those revisions you guys have talked about, whether it's septic designs, proximity issues, and things like that. And so, as an example, one of the things I had some concerns about with the original plan is setbacks. So the current plan right now shows some units at 17 feet away from the street line. The garage, as an example, is 17 feet. It's not even a parking lot distance, right? 18 feet or more. So Glenn actually agreed as well to say, hey, listen, we'll use 20 feet as a minimum setback standard. Now, the plans don't currently show that, and there's no reason for him to run back and revise the plans immediately, but it's certainly something that if written in as a condition, he can make sure that he makes those adjustments when he puts the homes in. So a 20-foot front setback to me sounds reasonable. The current buildings now, in not all applications, do show some units with 4 and 4.5 foot setbacks from a lot line. So if you have 4 feet on one side, 4 feet on another side, clearly 8 feet between foundations, overhangs, it's really tight. It's really not great for somebody that wants to get in the backyard and do something in the backyard later on down the line. Glenn agreed that's kind of tight. 10 feet's a great standard, but we do see pretty consistently 8 feet as a setback standard. So I'd ask, if possible, to try and get included as a condition that each home has an 8-foot side setback and then a reasonable 10-foot rear setback, which didn't seem to be an issue. Again, could be a condition, could be something that's made on, as an adjustment to the existing plans. We did talk in depth about it being a private way, a private road. We do have, as town administration, a lot of problems, for lack of a better term, with residents living in comprehensive permit locations with expectations that the town can come in and fix their private roads, repair things, and we just don't have the right to do that. So one of my solutions and suggestions was to, before any units are sold, put a street sign up that says, new subdivision private way. So the residents, although they may not read their documents at closing, when they drive into their home will clearly see our sign up in front of the subdivision that says private way. That sign, if for whatever reason the subdivision was accepted, could simply be changed. But again, it helps us as administrators say it's a private way, it's clear, it's obvious, and it's not hidden away in some documents that are closing that someone never looked through. Next, one thing, there is individual lots here, so there's not normally a direct need for shared parking, but it might be something that the board should look at, and maybe they can find some locations to create a few extra spaces for birthday parties, events, things like that that are guaranteed to happen with families in the subdivision. Lastly, again, these are things I think that can be written as conditions. Maybe the condition can be written in that any of the peer review comments that are made by Pat Brennan and his group can be just automatically corrected, resolved, so to speak, and then just altered and brought back to the board as an informal. And return to the board as an informal to show the finalized plans as they would be when those are finished, whether it's landscaping, whether it's home locations and things like that. So that's what I'd ask of the board. I know there's a lot of detail there. But most of these things can be written in as conditions. The applicant can then return to the board with those plans in an informal, not jam you up with a whole bunch of additional hearings, and show those finalized plans. So there you go.
One thing we did look at that, and I did talk to Jason, we went over all this stuff. We do have tight property line setbacks, and one of our solutions to that was, and that's why I want to talk to you, because it's something, if it works for you, we're going to extend the access easements on the utility basins and stuff, so there's an easement down both backs of these units. So if ever you needed to get in the back, we're still going to separate them as much as we can, but there might be a couple that are hard to shift, you know? Yeah, so I mean, but by, and the main thing is getting between the buildings to get out back if you have to work on a yard or something. So we were going to write in an easement down the back property lines of all these units right up to the cul-de-sac that allowed access to the backyards if anybody ever needed to do anything or get into their backyards.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean,
yeah, so it's just something we can do and still move the buildings around as much as we can to make everything still work. We can slide that one that's real close back. We've looked at a couple of them. Some of them we might have a hard time meeting just because we can't. So that we came up with that, hoping that maybe that would work for everybody, so that it still allowed access to the backyards, get as much separation on the buildings as we can, and like I say, it just solves the problem of anybody ever having to get in their backyard. You have the access.
Sorry, Jason.
There should be a clear delineation of either a setback requirement for the homes, broadly, 4, 5, 6, whatever number it is, and allow for that building envelope, so to speak, for that flexibility, which I think is fine. But there can't be an arbitrary no number. There has to be a choice by the board to say, this is the standard, this is too close, or this is what's expected.
Well, that's what I'm half getting at is you like to move it forward, and I get why, because of timing and everything. But at the same time, not seeing something, I feel something might get missed, even if because right now we're at 63 different things that are basically being argued out here. A lot of them are just visual. A lot of them, if seen, the numbers are there. You guys are seeing it on the paperwork. I don't know how the board feels, but seeing it done, it is. I'm not trying to say I want to stop this, or the board wants to stop this comprehensive permit. I just don't know how we can allow the cart to get ahead of the horse without seeing it. I mean, I'd like to try to figure this out, but again, we have a possible fire hydrant issue coming in.
No, and I don't discount any of those issues, and I think that this board doesn't historically do what I'm asking. I'll admit to that. But what I'm saying is, with a heavy workload of a lot of cases in front of you, you have one that you could approve with conditions that's done quite frequently on items that are not necessarily deniable on the application,
right,
but are negotiable. And those are things that can be worked out after and brought back to the board under informal. So if it's tree locations, if it's the number of trees, if it's the exact location of the sidewalk because of some logistics, if it's easement locations, if it's drainage size areas, those are things that are not something that is necessarily you're going to deny an application based on, nor should, in my opinion, it be continued for that. but that the applicant can make sure that it's done. It should be a condition that those things are done, but return to the board under an informal and show that the items have been resolved. So it is a bit more complex. It will take Tallerman to draft a decent decision for you, but there is an opportunity, whether it's this hearing or the next one, I think, because you'll be stuck in details, analysis paralysis.
Yeah, I get what you're saying there. I agree.
And we can't really, what Jason's saying too is, I mean, if we leave here and there's no, we're back to where we were 6 months ago, because if somebody isn't telling us, this is what we're gonna accept for, sidewalk, we're putting it through the way we did, and it's a decision one way or another. We're willing to work with you on, all of my engineer and Pat have gone back and forth.
I was going to ask Mr. Brennan what his biggest hammers are out of this whole thing. I mean, obviously, I'm not thinking roadway is, but I'm guessing either a drainage calc or a septic calc, or a septic being in the wrong position, or bad connection, or thinking those are your big trophy winners right there.
Yeah, those are the big ones, but I believe they can be worked out. The location of the basins are going to be tricky, but I from the engineering conditions can be worked out. I'm not too worried about that. I understand their desire to get the direction from the board on the sidewalk, grass strip, curbing type thing. So like I said, the engineering comments, I've worked with Bob on other projects in the past, so I know that we could work them out. So I'm not too worried about those. I did have a question, though. If the road's going to be private, it's going to be an HOA, and it's never going to be accepted, why isn't it just a condo project with no delineation of lots, no right-of-way for the road? You get rid of 90% of the waivers.
Can I answer that?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. So when we first came in with this, we were going to do a condo project when we thought we had town water, because everything could be shared commonly and we could get the town water to each individual condominium unit. If you put everything together now as a condominium unit and you put wells on the property, even if you have individual wells that serve each building, they're all the outside land would be owned by the condominium. All the wells would be owned by so it's the same owner of the wells, even though there's multiple wells. So it would then become a public water supply well. And the separation distances for public water supply wells are much greater than private water supply wells. So it would make the project infeasible to do it that way, if that makes sense.
Can I ask you one question on that point? Did you ever look into installing a single well and establishing a single well to serve your, is it 32 duplexes?
There's
Yes,
still
we did.
Publix water
We
supply.
looked at every.
Yeah, it would be, but it would be owned, I've lived in a community, we had a
Sure.
public water supply.
Yes,
that was
yeah.
owned and managed by the HOA.
Right.
Because we didn't have town water.
Right. When you get into the public water supply well permitting, you get a much bigger protective Zone 1 and Zone 2 radius.
You couldn't meet that?
No, we could not meet that with the layout of the site. That's correct. We looked at many alternatives for water supply, and this was the one we found met the needs of the project and still made it buildable.
Very good. Ms. Dubois, you have your hand up?
No, there's written comments.
Oh.
Yeah, I did, I do, and it's basically what I put in the chat inadvertently, actually. My question has to do with those wells, and wonder, A, if there's been a 21E performed on the site, and is that information available? And has it been reviewed as part of the And then it has to do with what go there to get parts for my vehicle. I know that it wasn't, pristine, shall I say. So I would be concerned about the quality of the water for drinking water supply, as I am in terms of the quality of water for the river. So have there been water quality tests done? Is there a depth of groundwater that they're aiming at for installing the 13 whatever wells? And what do we know about the site in terms of the fluctuation of that groundwater level? When there's a drought, how far down does it go? That kind of thing. I know that the stream is Spring Brook. I suspect that there's a nice, healthy supply of water there because I think in the past it was used as a trout farm. It flows directly to the river. The river right now, under the Clean Water Act, is 3 or 3 feet listed for nitrogen. We sure don't want to add more nitrogen to it. So I think what Matt was saying relative to the septic system is extremely important. You can't, the town cannot permit more nitrogen into the river because it's already overburdened. So if there's anyone that has that information, or if you're going to require that information, I would appreciate it.
He's going to speak now. Go ahead.
Sure. I'll try to answer most or all of your questions, hopefully. In terms of an assessment, we did speak about this during a couple of the hearings, but we have done an assessment of the property. We've sampled both the soil and groundwater at I believe 8 locations on the property, including around the perimeter, and did not find anything. That is part of a public document at the Mass DEP. It was submitted to them. So that my company actually did the work that associated with that assessment. In terms of putting in the new.
Just say when that was done, because we did put in a request to be
The site has a release tracking number, and it is available. I can get the information to the board and through the secretary, and they can forward that to you. And I'm not sure. It was 6 years ago, maybe? Yeah, it was some time ago, and I have a bad memory, so I can't give you the exact dates, but it was completed. In terms of the aquifer, it is a delineated high-yield aquifer, so it's extremely sandy soils. It's a high yield in terms of water volume, so I don't think any production of water or wells that meet the 5 gallons per minute will be of concern at this location. But we won't know that until we drill wells. The wells we installed were in the upper aquifer, the overburden, probably 20-foot deep wells, and the water table may at some locations been at 10 feet, and at others, depending on the topography, 20 feet deep. So I'm not sure what other questions there were.
Yeah, no, it was basically saying, what are you going to drive the wells to? That sounds like you're going.
Yeah,
20, 25 feet.
the potable drinking water wells will probably be driven into the lower portions of the aquifer, and they won't be up at 20 feet. They'll certainly be deeper than that. I'm unsure how deep.
And did you do tests? Was there water quality tests?
Well, the water quality was tested. It wasn't drinking water analysis was not performed on the wells, but it will be. Each well that will be put in will be assessed and determined to be suitable for potable drinking.
So that will be a condition of the...
It'll be a condition
yeah.
of putting a private
doubt.
drinking water supply well with the Board of Health.
Yeah. And I would think the Board of Health would have to regulate all those things.
Yeah, I mean, the Board of Health will have to approve the installation.
Would have to approve each well, I would assume.
Approve each well, correct. Yes.
You can get a building permit without a well, so if we couldn't get a well on the site, we'd just use that site.
Right.
It's not, it's like, that's all part of that would be the next phase of this whole thing, of getting permit for the actual building.
Could I use the microphone if you're going to talk?
And I did just want to add too, we are proposing denitrifying septic systems. So we're proposing treatment to remove portions of the nitrogen from the system. So they're not straight up conventional Title V systems, they are denitrifying systems.
Paul, do you want to run through are you opening this up to,
I'm going to open it
because
to
you
the public.
had the public,
But I don't know how I would even.
we haven't closed it on our end, and then we've had the
We
public.
haven't, but the only problem I see with the comments is I have to have a name and address. And
Yeah,
then
they
the
can-
comment written next to it, because without it, it's basically just people writing whatever the heck they want.
It's the people that are on there, so they'll speak to the comment. But we haven't opened, we had one person interject in our,
Yeah, I know. I'm open to have other people interject in. I just
I'm
don't know
just-
how to do it
at
through
this
a
point.
comment paste only.
do you want me to go through? I guess they're all from Pine, so that helps. Do you want anybody else from?
I'm going to ask the public in a second.
I just wanted.
I always
you were
forget this.
giving her
Yeah. I always forget this side of the world. Is why I've done it so many times.
I
forget.
see it out of my.
Okay, yeah, I can't see that at all.
popping
Oh,
up.
yeah, very good.
No, it's okay.
Yes. So to his comment, usually I forget this side. Does
I
anyone
just
from
want
the
to be
public?
fair to the
Yeah, I get
other
it. Yeah,
members
yeah.
here, because you've opened it up to our comment.
Anyone from the public want to chime in on this? No, no one's here for that.
Anybody here for this? No.
No. All right. So, carrying on.
I understand Jason's point, though, that they shouldn't be having to.
Come 17,000 times. Yeah, and I
So how do we accomplish that?
that's
today?
where my brain's been basically
Yeah.
racking while other little pieces are being said.
And I'm happy like letting them kind of battle it out with this.
Well, that's why I asked Mr. Brennan
Yeah.
what were his sticking points, and he didn't give any true sticking points that weren't. These two could easily fix it with the pen, moving a piece this way,
Yeah.
a piece this way. Go, we got that, or it fits, or this building now shrinks by 3 feet. That's when I said to Jason, I don't know how to put the cart ahead of the horse necessarily.
Yeah. So we do need to see.
It still has to be. We have to actually physically see it. So in the end product, we're going to hold you to whatever's
Right.
on those
And
5.
I guess the only thing I'm saying is like, we'll meet all, like, these two guys will get together, we'll meet all that stuff, we'll do the best on, if you guys come to us and say, hey, you can achieve this, or Bob sends an email and they go back and forth and we figure out a way for the separations. The only thing we're asking is,
But we can't approve anything because until town council writes something.
right, but I'm saying, so if they write them as conditions, but if we left here with you guys all putting your heads together and saying, hey, we want this for the sidewalk and curb, at least he can incorporate that into the thing. We can ask the water department about the fire hydrant, and then we can put either a private supply for fire suppression or,
Right.
or the hydrant.
Where's
That could
Jason?
just be
Did
a
he run
condition.
off? Did he sneak out of
From
here?
my perspective, we've offered as much feedback to you as we can.
Yeah, but he didn't get an answer on
I
that.
think you didn't know, you didn't get
Yeah,
anything.
he-
Yeah, we
we asked
talked
for-
for
I got
an
5
hour
different
about it.
answers.
Never
Yeah,
give an answer.
Yeah, let's get.
So we need to give an answer.
Yes. So
I don't care, so
Yeah.
whatever you guys.
I just.
I can't give an answer because it's so muddled as to who's going to be
You want a
repairing.
picture of,
Again, I'm still stuck on the private road issue and who's going to repair all these
That's just part
these
of-
curbs that
Always
get
going to be
smashed.
HOA. It's always going to be an
So-
That's
HOA.
all, that's all.
The only way it's going to change is if they go in front of the town and they're voted to take it in.
I mean, we're willing to give you like vertical concrete curb, right to the sidewalk, up one whole side, right around the cul-de-sac. That solves that problem. You end up with your separation. We'll put the trees in
I
the.
have to take somewhat of a vote. That's the only problem.
What's that?
For the minutes, there has to be somewhat of a vibe.
Definition.
Yeah, definition for you.
Yeah.
Because you can say it was muddled in the conversation and we
Yeah,
don't
well,
want to
we're
do
just,
it.
I mean, you
So-
guys tell us what you accept.
Exactly.
We're
That's
just
what
gonna
I'm
put it
trying to
in
do with the
plan.
board here. Lane doesn't care, so he's a 50-50. Doug?
I like a concrete curb and I'd like trees in the front yard.
I'm in the same with him.
Yep.
So we got 3. What do you, Bob? You
Well, just in quick and general, I think some bullet points,
Let's finish the street first before you move along.
just be real, conditions, we have to accept the conditions, well, they have to accept the conditions that are outlined. And the conditions seem like they're reasonable. There's quite a few of them to try to put down right now. But I think that, the water department and the fire department, the safety of the fire department, the conservation was gonna have to take a look and accept the septics, the acceptable of the potable drinking water. That's all part of the conservation.
Before you move along, what do you think of the streets before I get
Of the-
deviated?
I have no problem with the Cape Cod berm and the sidewalk and the 4 foot separation.
All right, so low end. I'm gonna come back to you. Marcia, don't care either way?
I do care.
I know.
She doesn't, I think what she was saying was she doesn't know what it looks like.
No, Bob showed me a picture of this Cape Cod berm.
Oh, you guys are.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Conferring down there.
I always carry one of my wallets.
Really, thank you, very helpful.
So,
Paul, I'm just trying to.
I do care of that.
I'm trying to get it out.
Yeah, I mean,
So I'll pull ranks since I don't know who's a voting member on this. I don't know if you're just an associate on it. It's a 3 out of 5, so it's a majority. It's gonna be concrete.
Concrete and
Concrete curb and adjacent.
Yeah.
And on the fire suppression or whatever.
I know you're not against it. Yeah, I'm not against it. I'm just trying to move things forward. I have to move. I got like a 10-minute window, and then I got to start another one. We can't be here really past 10 o'clock.
Absolutely.
I don't want to be here past 10 o'clock.
No, I know.
I
I'm
know
just.
why you're looking at me.
No, I'm just moving along.
The other sticking
I don't.
point with the, like, for a condition that would make it kind of easy.
So I'm gonna let Bob continue with what his conditions
Okay.
were. So carry on, Bob. Where
I'm
you were.
just saying, the conditions, we have to accept conditions, and Jason's not gonna issue a permit without the conditions being met when he reviews the plans for final issuance of a building permit. 8 foot setbacks, size, and the 10-foot setback, extra parking, that'd be something that could be looked at. Again, the permit's not gonna be issued without the review and acceptance of it. I think there's some reasonable logistical details and components that can be worked out. And like I say, it just has to be, the conditions have to be accepted, and I think we all understand that. That's all I
So
have.
I'm going to ask the board, do we want to allow this comprehensive permit to move forward with conditions that we're going to have Mr. Talaman draw up, or excuse me, Attorney Talaman draw up the conditions that we've been basically talking about, that they have an ability to kind of start moving forward and draw this up for real? Because we're going to require them to show this and have a plan that we sign off. We're going to actually sign off on Mylars that they're going to be held to. It's just, I get where Jason and they're coming from. If we kick them down another month out and there's one little hiccup, it's going to move another 2 months out, and by the time we get it done, we'll be in January. So, I'm asking the board, do we ask Attorney Talaman to put together a comprehensive permit with the conditions we've been speaking of?
There's a
And-
lot on this list. that-
There's 63 things
Yeah,
on this
you won't
list.
know. What I'm saying is that they need to decide, come back to us quickly, and then we can tell our town council to draw it up.
I agree with you, Lane.
They have to figure it out. They just sent this to us this afternoon.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I understand that. But
So
mean,
I get that they want to hurry, but I mean, this was,
But a lot of the arguments are stuff that you can argue.
it's nothing major at all.
No, but I'm saying they can come in front of us as a, how do I say it? They don't have to come up and have a whole town meeting. They can come in literally in any next meeting at the end and say, hey, listen, we're still talking about the trees, you know? If not, they're gonna have to be scheduled every time they come in front of us. They can't just pop in out of the blue.
I get what you're saying, but our attorney can't draft anything right now based on anything that we've said, because we've decided one thing out of 63.
He actually can, because the comprehensive permit is gonna cover us asking for waivers that are listed, and then the sticking points with the grass curb, the grass in the curb.
Conservation.
We solved that. Well, conservation, I mean, we're asking for a waiver outside of that, and we have delineated just because they don't have it in front of them right now, there is an ANRAD. We did delineate all
We
the
can
stuff
put a
we
condition
can
on
do.
it?
They gotta look at it.
Well, the condition, would be that conservation would have to accept it.
Yeah.
That's the condition. That's the way I look at it. I don't think it's anything other than...
See, Jason, this is what
It's
I'm
no
talking
different
about.
than any other
This is what I'm
permit.
talking about,
but
the cart getting
but
ahead of the horse.
I think what I can do is hopefully provide a little clarity as it relates to the situation. The specifics of the waivers that they're requesting are certainly important, but are actually outside the concept of the 40B. What they're demonstrating and what they're saying is that these waivers are necessary as a component to their project. I'm not a proponent for the applicant, I'm just trying to put context. And so in this case, they're saying they want to waive local wetlands regulations. Right or wrong, that's their request. They have the right to make that request. If the board grants that waiver, then the local regulations don't apply and state regulations apply. That's simply the only thing this board can decide. Do you grant the waiver to the wetlands regulations and allow them to comply with state regulations, or do you not? If you don't grant those waivers, then they're going to be in a situation, they're going to have to really step back and look at it. It could make the project feasible. That's going to be their argument. So I think Matt may have specific details that he might want to look at as it relates to their application, but that's not what they're requesting. They're not going to work with Matt on these issues. They're waiving all of those local regulations and saying we're going right to the state book. So whether Matt likes it and whether the local conservation commission likes it or not, if this board grants that waiver, they're going to have to work with the applicant. If you deny that waiver, then this applicant will have to work with Matt. So simply that's the decision. Either you grant the waiver or you deny the waiver, the specifics of which Matt could work out or not have any control over at all.
Matt, see your hand up. Please come in here quickly.
Yeah, I'll just reiterate that, as I've said on every other 40B project, I do not recommend blank get waivers of all our wetland protection regulations. They're there for a reason. So like everything was spelled out for every other election and regulations in town, I want to see it spelled out here, and I think the board should as well.
So they're wanting all or nothing. I want to see what they're actually waiving. And what Matt is saying makes sense. I want to see what they want a waiver from our local conservation bylaw, or, you know, whatever it is.
Do you know off the
Regulations.
top of your head what's waivers? Or?
Kingston has a very restrictive wetland bylaw, which is very lengthy. I can easily list out all the requirements. We're really not asking for that many when it comes down to it. But I can easily list those out. It'll just be a specific request as opposed to a broad request, but we're still going to need waivers from the local bylaws on certain things.
I'd like to know what we're waiving.
And I'd like to know what Matt said earlier, what conservation regulations are you asking to waive?
Right.
We don't even know.
We're asking to meet the State Wetlands Protection Act. is what
So
we're
you're just
asking,
saying
but-
all of them? We
Right,
would like
it's
to
just-
know,
it was-
I'm with Matt. I'd like to know specifically.
And so you'll get us that list.
That's no problem.
Okay,
We can
thank
do
you.
that. And again, it's not that lengthy of a list of what we're looking for waivers from.
That was the only thing that I saw on this. that
Yeah.
really
But that can easily be prepared prior to next meeting, and we do, you know, just so it's understood, we still have to go in front of the Conservation Commission. They're just going to be working with the state regulation as opposed to the local bylaw. We still are required to go in front of the Conservation Commission with this project, just like we still have to get Board of Health approval on the project.
I'm just not comfortable approving 63
Well, there was
waivers
numbered
and
six-
deviations from our regulations.
Sure.
Right, something that we got today, this
Right, I
afternoon.
understood. So just a little context. We submitted these plans shortly after the last hearing. They kind of got stuck in the process in town here and didn't get to the reviewer, and he did a very quick job of turning them around. And I've only had his comments for about a week. So, but we had submitted them months ago. So it's not like we waited to the last minute to get the plans submitted.
I'm not
We
accusing you
submitted
of that.
everything.
I'm trying to explain to you why I am not comfortable granting you, approving a waiver of these 63 items. And if you wanted a sense from the board about what Jason referred to in terms of the front yard setbacks, the side yard setbacks, the rear yard setbacks, and that you needed to add some parking, as I recall his. I mean, if you want our sense on those things, I'm happy to do that. That makes sense.
But
But
we're
not,
but we're not asking you for 63 waivers. I mean, the technical issues that are going back and forth with the engineering, they are gonna work it out, and none of us know those numbers or calculations on that. That's between these two guys. And we're gonna work it out so they're both satisfactory, because he's your review engineer, and we're gonna have to meet his stuff. The waivers that we're asking for have been in front of you guys since whenever, January.
I understand, but we just received today your response to our engineer's comprehensive review, including all of your waiver requests. We just got that from you today. I mean, I'm sorry it got bogged down in the process, but, I'm just sharing with you how I feel.
We're like saying, we're not asking, like I say, we're not asking for that many waivers. I mean, the conditions, conservation, we still have to go in front of them. Board of Health, we still have to go in front of them. We still have to meet these guys as he's working with state bylaws and instead of the local bylaws. The wells, all those issues we've talked about, that goes into Jason's department, because you can't have a building permit without an approved well before you get it. I mean, all of that stuff is, the checks and balances are after this part. This is just approving the concept so that we can move forward.
All right, let's stop it here. I feel like we're spinning our tires.
Talk about this.
Let's, when's our next meeting? August what?
7th.
August 7th.
I will not be there then.
You can't come in on Zoom?
If you needed me to just for this one,
Yes, well, what I'm gonna suggest is try to get a lot of this stuff hammered out very quickly, so that there isn't a constant back and forth for a tit for tat, a little piece here, a little piece there, and have town council put something together that starts to look like a comprehensive permit that's making sense, that already has the granite curbing in it, that already has the pieces that we've talked of the puzzle, and the little pieces that are up in the air with the Conservation Commission will be in there, not as a blanket statement, but as on your worst interest, and then you guys have to correct it in reverse. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, so like, the way Jason said that just suggested, right? So the sticking point seems to be the conservation, so.
Yes, and I don't think you're gonna get a vote tonight, and I don't think you're gonna want the vote tonight. So my point is by getting some stuff hammered out.
But I'm saying we're gonna be in the same spot in a month from now. If we have this and you say,
not if you get it to us before the meeting.
But exactly, I think they were worried that we're gonna have the back and forth isn't gonna happen fast
yeah,
enough.
because then we'll be in the same spot. If we come here with our plan and you guys still don't like it, or, Matt says, well, what if we have, we have specific waivers that we're gonna need from conservation? What if that's just a condition of the special permit you guys grant? Because you guys are granting the permit,
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, if we.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying by the next meeting, we actually have a physical, this is what the comprehensive permit looks like, with all the pieces. You guys will probably by then have fixed 45, if not 50 of them, and we're down to the 3 that the board can't even adjust on. And we say, well, we'll just condition that one, and that one. And then you guys are off on your own to deal with those big boys.
How do we go forward and get us to that point where we draw another whole set of plans, not knowing if.
I don't think you have to draw a whole set of other plans. I think it's more of the working with Jason on the pieces that he said, and then having town council put it together on paper, because that's been the bigger problem, is putting down the legalese down on the paper.
I think it's more a narrative than it is a plan.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I
and
think
then
if you put
the
a narrative together.
works, yeah, the narrative works, and we all say, yeah, this actually is making more sense. Put it on paper now.
But do we get together with Matt and because that's my only issue here is if we give them a list of waivers.
Well, Matt's going to give you where he probably thinks the board is being pushed.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So do we go move forward, giving him that and get everything else hashed out?
I would.
And then you guys just make your decision.
I can feel how the board is going. Yeah.
I mean, that's all.
I would answer yes or no.
Yeah, and then
because that's going to be the sticking point. Because I mean, we're asking for a waiver under a 40B regulation, so that we're dealing with state regs.
And it sounds like you're not going to get it from this board. So
Right,
my point is, I'm trying to push you in a direction that works for you.
Right, but do we do that beforehand? Do we work with them?
Yes,
and
please.
just-
I would do
And
that.
let us
I-
know what you have worked on,
Yeah,
maybe at least a week before our meeting, so that we have something to look at before we come in here.
yeah.
I couldn't read all of this. I mean, I'm glad that he got up there and
Yeah,
talked
well-
about it, but I got this afternoon.
Well, but I understand that, like I said, we haven't, I mean, we've been calling the town to try to get, we couldn't even
Yeah.
get a review engineer for 3 months.
So I
mean,
think what you're saying is
3
get
times.
us, you guys handle everything, get us what we need, and we can just hammer it out at the next meeting.
Yeah, exactly. Mr. Talman already maybe having, Attorney Talman already having basically almost a comprehensive, almost basically done, and then the few conditions that we're arguing about are done.
Right.
So instead of the 62 that we argued about, like you said, some of them are semantics, but at least they're already written down as already, as in there.
I don't see anything we're arguing about except the conservation board not recommending you guys not
Right.
giving that waiver.
Because they don't wanna-
Because everything else is gonna.
There's also the parking question that
Yeah, there's
I didn't
parking,
even
but you
know
guys will
that.
hammer that out in here pretty
Yeah.
easily, and the building separation, and then the water of the fire
The water
hydrant.
department, fire hydrant.
And stuff like that. But like I said, if it's all there, we get it in here, you guys might be moving faster than you think. Again, I think that's where I felt the cart was getting a little far of the horse. So I think this will straighten it out a little bit and make it more a little mainstream. But again, this means you guys hitting the pavement tomorrow,
When's your
and
next meeting?
that's what we just looked at, August
Do
7th.
we have something else on that day, though?
Do we?
Just Riverview.
Who?
Grandview.
Oh, Grandview.
Grandview.
Oh, and she doesn't even know if she's gonna be ready. We just
Right.
popped her in there at 7 o'clock, 'cause-
So we can get on till 7.
Yep, well, 7:05.
Hey, you want me to make a motion
Yes.
to continue until August 7th?
Yep, at what time?
I won't be here for August 7th, so
What'd you just say?
I won't be here for August 7th.
You're gonna zoom in, aren't you? You're gonna call in the special phone number and be one of those up there?
If it's,
You could do the Mullins.
yeah, I
No-
mean,
no
I
joke
can
intended.
be here if we streamline
I'm
this.
on vacation that week, so I don't know.
You can always do the Mullins rule.
Well, if you don't.
Boy, this volunteer job
I mean,
just
Marcia's here,
perks, doesn't it?
Yeah,
so we have an
Yeah,
alternative.
yeah, yeah.
So Marcia's here.
the beginning to start.
All right.
All right, so
Go ahead, make it.
make a motion to continue till
August
8/7.
August 7th.
That's 7:05.
7:05.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Marcia, you eyed that?
Yes.
Thank you, because you might be there. No, we're not done. Where are you going? Oh, okay, yeah. All right. Bye, you two are dismissed. You two may adjourn. Next up,
It's nice meeting you. Thanks for your help.
you have to read it.
Have a good night, Deb.
That one right there. Yep. These are always. All right, let's start there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep, go ahead.
A public hearing will be held at Town Hall, 26 Evergreen Street, room 200, on Wednesday, March 6th, 2024, at 7:05 PM. Applicant Fred Togensburg, 60 Country Club Way, map 74, lot 4, seeking a special permit for the Zoning Board of Appeals per section 5.2 table of the use Kingston zoning bylaw, page 33, in the order to construct a maintenance building for the existing country club site plan for the proposed maintenance building at Indian Pond Country Club, Inc., prepared by Joseph Webby Jr. and Richard Benavides of Webby Engineer Association, Inc., dated 7/11/23. Retaining wall location and note plan, Civil Connections LLC, Gilmanton, and New Hampshire, date 11/29/2023.
All right, we're back at it. Who's coming up?
Good evening. I'm still John Fleming, and my office is still at 1 Elm Square in Andover, Massachusetts. I guess the first issue I would like to address is something that came up at the last meeting and received a fair amount of discussion, and that was, isn't there a better site for this maintenance building? And pictures were shown just of the building itself that is located on the golf course, and it was suggested that that would be an appropriate location. I've got a packet of 4 things here, which I think would be helpful.
These all the same? Am I handing these down?
I think they are the same.
All right.
It's the first one, the 11 by 17, which I think is most relevant at this point for the first point I want to try to make. This is a Google Earth photo, 2024, and what it shows in the middle, basically in the middle of the photograph, is a yellow line that shows you near Country Club Way at the top the current location of the transformer, electrical transformer that could be used. And at the bottom of the yellow line is the location of the building that was being talked about. It's over 1,200 feet from the road. It goes over, there's no electricity at the building. To think that it is possible that the fire chief is going to approve that location 1,200 feet from the road with no road leading to it, having to go up the hill, if anyone's familiar with the driving range at the golf course, fire trucks are going to have to traverse basically lawn up a hill to reach this 1,200 feet away, and it's not near a hydrant. How is the fire department ever going to be able to deal with this location for a maintenance building? And the other thing is it doesn't have electricity, and it's to install the size of an electric line, the 1,200 feet from the existing transformer to this location, to be able to provide enough power to recharge the 84 to 86 golf carts that are electrical powered, is just, it's unfeasible as a project. It would disrupt fairways, it would disrupt the infiltration gallery that the town is still using for its wastewater, and would certainly have to get an approval from the sewer commissioners to be doing any excavation in the area that we gave them an easement for the infiltration gallery. I mean, if it's just not a feasible location for this project. We also have submitted some additional plans, and I think we also filed 1911 by 17s, which hopefully you were given a copy of, which shows that we've moved the location of the building a little bit further away from the property, the lot that abuts the parking lot, on the parking lot side of Country Club Way. The net effect of the change is to eliminate the need for a retaining wall on the abutters, on the side of the building that faces the abutters property. The other thing that is new since, or at least is new to me since the last meeting, is I heard the chairman talk about how he had been receiving a lot of emails concerning concerning the issue of parking on the roadways and other issues. So that was news to us. We did do a public records request and received from the town all communications that had supposedly been made between members of the public and the Zoning Board of Appeals
or to Mr. Darlin, or to basically anybody. And most of the comments are from either Deborah Hooper, who is one of the abutters on the other side of Country Club Way, and Mr. I'm probably going to butcher his name, Zerniak, who is the direct abutter on the parking lot side of the road. And their concerns basically are, the Zerniaks are concerned because they work at home, and they think there's going to be a lot of noise. Ms. Hooper is concerned about a number of things, according to her emails. The fact that there's sand and dirt and material being kept in the parking lot directly across from her property. She's concerned that construction starts, or work starts at 7 p.m. She's asked Mr. Silva on, I believe, a couple of occasions to issue a cease and desist order, which Mr. Silva has explained to her, in his opinion, was not appropriate. And we would like to work with the abutters, but we've given you a picture of, for example, what is between the parking lot and the Zerniak home. And these are, one of the photographs, they're large arborvitae and other trees. The way that where the building is going to be located now is removed far enough that they won't even be able to see it from their property. With respect to Ms. Hooper, we proposed that we would put a buffer of trees in between her property and where the maintenance building would be located. And we're still willing to do that, but she basically told us don't bother. And the other thing that I noted that I just have to comment on in what's been submitted to the board that's in your file apparently, are comments to the effect that Mr. Tonsberg has been a burden on this town for the last 20 years. And so the country club pays $140,000 in taxes. It pays payroll taxes of $443,613. It pays the town $20,000 in meal taxes a year. It has 100 employees during the golfing season. It is not a burden on the town of Kingston. It doesn't send anybody to your schools. The burden on the town of Kingston is minimal, and the benefits that are provided by the country club are significant. Everybody who's got sewer, town sewer, in this room, or in the board members, for example, every single drop of town sewer goes on to Indian Pond Country Club. It goes into an infiltration gallery that was built by Indian Pond Country Club for the benefit of the town. The easement that the infiltration gallery is located on was gifted to the town, no charge. The sewer lines for the subdivision and also the forced sewer mains that come from some of the places in town where the septic systems were deteriorating all come through Indian Pond Country Club. And that forced main from Brook Street that goes up to the wastewater treatment facility, that was installed by Indian Pond Country Club. All that stuff was done, and it was done in the year approximately 2000. And most everybody who's here wasn't here then. So they just think that Indian Pond Country Club is just this facility for rich people that provides no benefit whatsoever to the town of Kingston, when in fact it certainly does. It's a state-of-the-art function facility. The golf course is recognized as one of the best in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It adds to the prestige of the town of Kingston. So, where does that get us? If you go to the criteria that are set forth in your bylaws, building a state-of-the-art new storage area for the electric carts, and a maintenance building for just basically the treatment equipment for the golf course, the blowers, the mowers, the fertilizers, the fertilizer equipment. And the proposal is that no one will ever see, for example, the golf carts, because they're going to come in from the level of the golf course and they're going to go out the level of the golf course. As proposed, they're going to be electric golf carts, which don't make any noise and they don't emit any pollution. If you want to take away any possibility of being able to charge the electric golf carts, you may be facing a situation where the golf course, for example, has to resort to gasoline golf carts, which are louder and they also are much more polluting than the electric mowers, the electric golf carts. If you compare what this would do for the neighborhood, including those neighbors on Putter's Place who currently look at the construction equipment that's out in the open and look at a sort of dilapidated maintenance building, and you look at what is being proposed, it's definitely an improvement to the community. It may somewhat adversely affect two of the abutters, but they bought their property in 2020, and the golf course was there, the parking lot was there, the function facility was there, there was a driveway where all the deliveries that were made that was there, and they came in and they bought their property, apparently assuming that nothing would ever change. This, the final point probably that I want to make, just because it's in your file, is a suggestion that people that the Indian Pond Country Club has been making threats to people. The fact of the matter is that there may have been comments made that said, if this doesn't get approved, things are going to get worse. That's not a threat. That's the truth. We're going to have to store the golf carts somewhere. Where are you going to put 86 carts? They're going to be in additional ugly trailers sitting adjacent to the parking lot, or they're going to be out in the open, and the equipment is still going to be out in the open, the mowers and all the stuff like that. I was struck, because I didn't know this had happened, that Mrs. Hooper had actually asked that the board make a site visit, and after listening, after talking it over with Mr. Tonsberg and looking at the photographs, we actually think that's an excellent idea. So you can come out and see, is this other location feasible? I mean, is it at all even remotely feasible? And come out and look at how the adjoining properties are going to be affected, and to consider whether or not, additional conditions should be included to increase the buffer on the Zerniak's side of the parking lot, so that you can be sure that they can't even see the maintenance building, and to look and see what can be done for Mrs. Hooper. But she came to this location in 2020, and you have a photograph there that shows what she's looking at on her side of the road. She's looking at a commercial building, and the buffer that was put in is a 3-foot high set of arborvitaes. So basically what she's saying is she doesn't want her view of the golf course interfered with. And the other thing that she says that just doesn't make any sense to me is this would allow us to get rid of the sand, the dirt, the loam, and everything, because we would then be able to, if we had this facility for the carts and the equipment, we can then put all those materials, including fertilizer, back up in an area that is further back on the golf course. Doesn't have any electricity, but there's an area where we could store materials. And again, that's something that could be pointed out to you in a site visit. And the site visit, what we would propose is, one thing we have is plenty of golf carts. Anybody, members of the public, who want to go on the visit to see what we're proposing and what we would like to be able to do with this golf course to minimize how the neighbors are being affected, would be more than welcome. That's, I guess the only other thing I will add is we were accused of being poor moral conduct when we applied to change managers for the liquor license. And that's the story from Mr. Ollie DiMacedo, who was the chairman of the board of Selectmen back when the deal was made, whereby Indian Pond Country Club helped solve the sewerage issues that were being faced by the town. I think there's 5 copies.
For the record? Very good, thank you.
So my only other point would be, I think the reasons why this project is being opposed are the fact that some people think Mr. Tonsberg is not a good person. A lot of people think that the roads need to be finished, and that should be the country club's responsibility, or that's a grounds for denying a special permit. And I respectfully submit to you that the law actually is fairly clear as to what you people get to consider. And you don't get to consider whether Mr. Tonsberg is a bad person. That's not a legitimate basis for denying the special permit. You don't get to, I don't think you get to decide that the fact that another entity that Mr. Tonsberg has something to do with hasn't finished the roads is a legitimate basis for a decision denying the special permit. And if you apply the criteria that are legitimate, I think any reasonable person would conclude that the conditions anyways set forth for a special permit have been satisfied.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Actually, I'll move along first. Kevin, anything more right now?
Not right now. There's parking issues. There are issues.
Yes. Bob?
A great oration, but I don't think it has anything to do with the zoning, with the question that's before us.
That's it. That's it. Marcia?
I guess the only thing I would like to say in response to, is it Attorney Fleming's remarks? I don't get the sense that anybody thinks that Indian Pond is a bad place or a drain on the town. It's a beautiful, beautiful neighborhood. I mean, it's just lovely. So I don't know why you have this, but I get the sense that there's some kind of feeling that the town or people in the town are out to get Mr. Tonsberg, and that's just not at all. And I don't get that vibe at all from anybody in this town. So I just want to dissuade you from thinking that. We're just here, hearing your request. Started out as a modification of a permit, and then it got morphed into a separate permit special request application. We're just here to hear that. So those are my comments. I do agree with my fellow board members that there are issues. There are issues with your proposed maintenance building. And one of them appears to be traffic and parking. According to, I think it's our engineer's review of your documents. Have you had a chance to look at the July 16th review by PGB Engineering?
I don't see any.
Oh, okay. So.
Did it? Oh, yeah, I thought you were going to say
No,
more.
that's it.
Oh, yeah, I thought you were
I'm-
going
But this is what we're probably going to have to focus on.
All right, I'm going to open this up to the public. You can be first. Name, address. I get it.
Good evening. I'm up past my bedtime. I'm an old man, what can I say?
No excuses.
I do want to note an exception, Marcia, to the things that you said. I think Mr. Townsburg is a lousy neighbor.
I'm sorry.
The fact of the matter is that you ride by the country club, forget the roads. The roads are a disgrace. And everybody knows that Townsburg's behind that. But whether it's legal or all that, I don't know. But the roads are horrible. They're unsafe. They're ugly. But more importantly, you just ride by the country club, and the parking lot that he has on the left of the country club, they never keep that mowed. It's always a mess. They put piles of dirt and gravel and crap in the driveway. I don't think the driveway's ever been swept. And on the other side, there's a house that the only thing you could really do with that house that would make it useful is to bring a bulldozer in. They keep it a mess all the time. The weeds grow, old rusted equipment is sitting out in the yard right behind the people at Lynx. Not Lynx, is it Putters? Putters? I mean, and we all moved in there. I moved in there, 6 years ago now. And you walk in, when you drive in and you're buying a house, now they all go for millions. And you expect when you see the streetlights coming in that they're going to be turned on. And Townsburg gets cute with us all the time and he turns them out. And you might go all winter without them even being on. That's not right. That's not right. And from the town of Kingston standpoint, I'll say to you this. The residents of Indian Pond Estates pay about 30% of the taxes of the whole town. And yet we got to live on streets that, I mean, I think I might have told this story once, but I'll tell it quickly. I live at 263 Country Club Way, and I was going down the street one day, and I'm very sensitive to kids. And you got to be careful when the kids are around. That's why we have a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit. And I'm constantly bitching at people that go too fast, because there's a lot of them. Well, I was going down the street one day, and I'm looking down the street, and there's 4 or 5 kids, 12, 14-year-old boys, and they're riding the bikes. Those little bikes, I don't even know how they ride them. When I was a kid, I had a bigger bike. But they were going down the road and looked like they were having a lot of fun. And I see them, they go all over the road. I mean, it's very unsafe. It's not as if they stay on the side or anything like that. But I would have done the same thing if I was a kid. And this one kid, one of the bigger ones of the kids, there's a manhole cover. All of our manhole covers are 3, 4, 5, 6 inches above the road. And this kid hit this manhole cover. He was going like hell. He hit the manhole cover, and his bike flipped. And he flipped. But I could see this all happening from so far away that I literally had stopped my car doing 0 miles an hour. And when the kid landed, God was with me that day. God was with him. His head landed right on my tire on the front of the car, because he'd hit that manhole cover. But when you look around the streets, I mean, right in front of the country club, for God's sake, when you'd certainly want to impress prospective members and the members that you're trying to take care of, the road is a disaster. It's completely, I mean, if you go down the road, where they did a little bit of a fix this past spring after the TV station was out, I mean, what a mess. And I find it hard to comprehend that country club members would sit there and say, yeah, this is okay with me. I don't mind driving into a dump. And then when you get there, it's beautiful. Beautiful when you're up on the course. I don't know, I don't play golf, I don't go around it, but I understand that it is a pretty course. But everything along the roads, a couple of years ago, we had asked him to mow the right side of the road coming in on the entrance. One side he was letting go completely, right out to the curb. And I went to him and I asked him, you know, not for nothing good, can we at least clean that up a little bit? We all live in country club estates. This is not a back road. It's not a dirt road. At least mow the sides. And he committed that he would do that. And we talked about doing 10 feet into the off the side of the road. Well, his guys went right down there within a couple of days, and they mowed it 3 feet back, maybe 4, maybe 5. And they have kept a pretty good job of it, keeping it cleaned up since then. The front entrance to the development, however, they don't do, and the neighbors have put together a little group where we pay a certain amount of money and then we hire somebody to mow that area. I know because I'm the one that got that started a few years ago. The grass used to be this high. And when you're going around a corner, turning right onto Brook Street, one day my grandson was there. He's a kid and he was driving too fast. And he tried to pull out. He was in a hurry. And because he couldn't see over the grass, he damn near hit somebody. In that very moment in time, I went down the next day and I mowed that yard. That's not going to happen to him again. And then it turned out that everybody in the neighborhood was very excited about the fact that that mess got cleaned up. And we started doing it together. And now we keep it mowed every week because nobody else will mow it. The owners of the country club, you know, you're trying to make the entrance to country club estates look nice, but they never mow it. Ever. And I'll get back to the eyesore known as the maintenance building. It's hard for me to comprehend. They got people parking all over. Yesterday morning, they were parking all over the yard. The weeds in front of that house, the shrubs, have all turned into weeds. And the bottom line of all this is that they're not good neighbors. And whatever they promise to do, they've proven they won't commit and they won't perform on those promises. Otherwise, we'd have had a street a long time ago. I mean, I don't know how these other things get invested when you have a responsibility in one of your companies, but everyone knows we live as people and we're responsible for our own commitments. And legally, one of his other companies might be responsible for that road, not him, but morally, we all know the difference. And it's really reprehensible to me to think that we could stand here and say what good citizens we are to the community and what we do for the community, yet we make every single one of our neighbors dislike us because we won't take care of anything that we're around except for what we want to take care of. So with that said, I've rambled plenty. I want to express, I want people to know that we don't approve. And all the things that they say they do it to make the country club work. I mean, so what? That's great. I hope they make $1 million or more. But clean the place up, fix the road, make it so it is country club estates, Indian Pond Estates. But it's not that now. And to go further and allow the man to have another building that he won't keep his promises on because he proves he doesn't keep his promises would be foolhardy and not in the best interest of Kingston. Thank you.
Next up, it just came to my mind, BGB Engineering. Just wonder why the hell you're here. All right.
All right.
You can state what you wrote since he hasn't read it yet, and I'll give him a copy of mine. But
I'll give him a copy when I'm done. Pat Brennan with PGB Engineering. Just a couple of weeks ago, I was reached out to by the former assistant for the zoning board to review the site plan, or the the site plan part of the special permit for this project. I don't know any of the history of the project, so I'm just learning everything tonight, so. So I reviewed the site plan that was prepared by Webby Engineering. I had reached out to Webby on June 20th asking them for drainage calculations for this new building area. I just received them last Friday. So that's why my letter was dated yesterday, because I just reviewed it. I had 8 comments, and then I did go back, and I also received some correspondence from the town planner that was submitted last year for basically the same project, but just a modified version of it, which I understand was withdrawn at the time, but her comments are still valid for what's been submitted this time around. So I'll just run through my comments quickly, and then I'll kind of rehash some of what she had brought up. First of all, the site plan does not show any utilities other than the drainage system and the tight tanks and the gas traps for the proposed floor drains. So they need to show water, sewer, gas if it's proposed, electric, communications, utilities. Those all have to be shown on the site plan. The drainage system that they have proposed is a subsurface infiltration system, concrete dry wells surrounded by crushed stone. We need test holes at that location to make sure we have depth to groundwater and adequate soils. They have a proposed Cape Cod berm around the new pavement that they'll be doing. My recommendation, the detail shows the Cape Cod berm to go down with the finish course. I always recommend it goes down with both courses. If it doesn't, and you put the binder course down with no Cape Cod berm, and it's years before they put the top course, the drainage system isn't working because it's not capturing the water. It's not directing it where it should go. So it should go down with the binder course as well. On sheet 1 of the plan set, note 7 states that 20 additional parking spaces are proposed for the maintenance building. They're not really clearly defined on the site plan, so they need to be. The existing conditions erosion control plan shows the silt fence as a perimeter erosion control. However, there's nothing on the parking lot side of it, and that's the downhill side. So they need to have something on the downhill side, and I suggest either a silt sock, compost-filled, straw wattle, or something like that that can actually put down in the asphalt, and it will keep the material from flowing off the site onto the asphalt and then across Country Club Drive. The operation and maintenance plan, they need to adjust that. It's the operation and maintenance plan for the proposed stormwater system. They need to make some adjustments to that. It looks like it was pulled from another project, so they just need to cater it to this specific project and what's proposed here. Same thing with the construction sequence. They were referencing construction of infiltration basins, which open air, which is not proposed there. It's a subsurface, as I mentioned. And their details for the catch basin showed weep holes, which are not allowed anymore. Those were the comments I had on the site plan. Again, all I had was the site plan and drainage calculations. I did have a document that was provided. It was an initial construction control document dated April 9th of 2024, prepared by Stephen Nelson. And that document basically said that the building was designed by a fire protection engineer, and it would meet all codes. It was just a statement. It was a certification to that effect. When I went through Valerie Massard's, the town planner's, September 6, 2023 staff report, she had listed a lot of information that was either missing or incomplete from the application. And I relisted those in my letter. And I'll run through them real quick. Architectural plans and elevations for the building, so that we actually know what it's going to look like, also what the floor area is. So that's the first thing. The proposed use of the building. I did, from that construction control document, it does say that it's a Golf carts would be stored on the second floor, and I believe Attorney Fleming mentioned that tonight too, and then the maintenance equipment be stored on the first floor. But there was no information, usually in these maintenance buildings, you have fertilizer installed and stored there, fuel, things like that. None of that's mentioned, so it should be included in the application. There's no information on whether or not the existing maintenance building will continue to be used. There was no explanation why a new maintenance building is necessary. The erosion, she had some comments on the erosion control plan. I kind of mentioned that. They've changed that, but they still need to do some work on that based on the comments I mentioned earlier. She was mentioning that the proposed building appears to impact existing parking for the country club and does not designate parking associated with the maintenance building. So when I looked at that, again, the only information about parking is about those 20 additional parking spaces proposed for the maintenance building. Adding on to Valerie's comment, a parking analysis for all uses and a detailed parking plan should be submitted, including a swept path analysis from the fire department's largest apparatus, just so that you know. I mean, this is a part of our largest site with other uses. You got to make sure that you have the correct parking spaces for all the uses that are included there. No utilities are shown. I had mentioned that, other than the drainage. At the time, no drainage calculations, but they have been provided, and I've reviewed them and made my comments mainly in terms of the need for test holes. No information on exterior lighting, no information on proposed landscaping, and no information on proposed trash disposal or dumpster if proposed, and no signage is depicted on the plans. I did note that on note 8 on the cover sheet of the plans, it does say there are no signs proposed for this project. And then in Valerie's report, she went on to recommend several conditions if the board were to approve the project. I'm not going to go through those right now. They're in my letter. They're in the record. Because those may change once they make revisions to the plan. So I think, in the interest of time, I'll just leave it at that for now.
You're good. Thank you. Anybody else?
Well, I'm going to need 2 minutes because I know we want to have something.
They all say that.
Yeah, it's on me because I don't want to be here either. I didn't want to come here in the first place.
Give her one.
George Egan, 131 Country Club Way. Real quick, I brought a picture of what the parking situation is in front of the existing maintenance building now on a weekday, on a Tuesday. This is typical to every day. There's 15 vehicles parked here on the grass, on the sidewalk. There was a pickup truck parked in front of this red Jeep that passed me before it pulled out past me before I drove by. So there were 16 vehicles before the picture was taken. The grass and the weeds in front of the existing maintenance building are probably 2 feet tall. You can't see the building because of the bushes. This was on May 28th, Tuesday, after 2 meetings that we've already had discussing this issue. Like, this is, you would think after being here twice and speaking about this and bringing this issue and the neighbors' issues about the condition of the roads and the parking in front of the maintenance building and how the place is being kept, that Mr. Tonsberg would have made an effort to try to keep the place cleaned up until his permit possibly got passed, but apparently not. So this is an indication to me of what the new maintenance building would look like as well. So 16 vehicles. Those are employees' vehicles. So if you need to figure out what you need for parking spaces for this new building, this might help you figure that out. All right, that's it.
Thank you. Are you guys still in the other maintenance building still? Are you guys still in the other maintenance building still?
Yeah.
We have a lease that expires in November of 2025.
Whose job is it to upkeep that building and upkeep the residents, or whatever it is? Upkeep, yeah.
There is no-
notice to evict by the landlord.
That's here nor there.
Well, what
I
is
guess
here or there is the people.
you have a lease.
We don't own it.
Right, but whose job is it to maintain it?
Use the microphone, please.
Yeah, just yell in the microphone. I mean, I guess that person did make a good statement. There you go.
We can give you a copy of the lease.
That would be the easiest part, yeah.
Okay, but that's the reason why we need the new maintenance
I understand
building is
that. I'm
because
just trying
that
to
one's,
figure out
that one's
who-
terrible.
Who has control of it? Sort of like if you lease a car and the same thing, you let it go to crap and don't have to change the tires and then here you go. Is someone going to be charged for it or it's not your thing? You don't have to deal with it. I'm just saying there's got to be someone has to be taking care of it. I just don't know what the rule is. So,
Okay, well, I just, again, there's a reference, I just heard again from the engineer, and again, I heard from Valerie Mansard, her report in which she says, no explanation has been given why you need a new maintenance building. We need a new maintenance building because we're being evicted by Mr. Frederick W. Tonsberg, or our lease is going to expire.
all right, I guess we'll
What are you
have someone
doing?
speak to that.
Everybody gets a chance to speak here.
No, I don't want him, he's physically attacked me in the past, so I don't want him.
Oh, my goodness.
What?
All right, enough arguing. Are you going to speak or no?
I have a question for Attorney Fleming.
Go ahead.
High Pines Corporation applied for a building permit in, I think, 2001 to construct the current maintenance building. Isn't that true?
I believe that's correct.
Okay. And it was in 2001, correct?
I'm
Just
You
trying to
want
get
to
that.
press me on the exact dates of something that happened 24 years ago, you can feel free to
Well, I mean,
do
it goes,
that.
I think it goes to some of the overarching issues. So I don't mean to like sandbag you, I'm just trying to
When you're
nail down.
cross-examining me, yes or no, and that is an aggressive tactic.
I'll try not to be aggressive. I have a copy of the permit that High Pines Corporation applied for, the building permit, in 2001 for the current maintenance building. And, I mean, I think you provided it to us, so that's a fact. And it's also a fact that High Pines Corporation and Mr. Tonsberg, prior to applying for the building permit for the maintenance building in 2001. They picked the lot, they applied for it, they had already transferred to Indian Pond Country Club the 140-acre parcel that is the site of the country club and the proposed new maintenance facility. Isn't that true?
I believe that's correct.
Okay. So my question to you is, why didn't Indian Pond apply for the country club, Indian Pond Country Club, the owner of the 140-acre parcel on which the country club was going to be built? Why didn't Indian Pond Country Club apply for the permit for a maintenance facility?
Because the building, the lot that's referenced was owned by High Pines Corp.
No, that doesn't answer my question.
Well, I'm sorry, it does.
Well, the Indian Pond Country Club was deeded by High Pines Corporation 140 acres for the purposes of creating a country club and golf course. So that doesn't answer my question. Why didn't Indian Pond Country Club locate its maintenance facility somewhere on its 140-acre parcel when it first applied to the town for a permit to build a maintenance facility to store golf carts?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Maybe Mr. Tonsberg could answer that question.
I'm sure the plan was to get the building permit for the for that location and then transfer, sell the property, sell the lot to Indian Pond Country Club, but it just didn't happen.
Would you like a copy of the lease?
Maybe we can put it in the.
Well, that's not, that's my original,
Oh.
so I can give you its own.
Just email it. You can send it to you. Email it. All right. Marcia, continue.
What is the, strike that, when is the anticipated decision in the case involving the town's efforts to compel High Pines Corporation to complete the roads?
All I can tell you is that High Pines filed an appeal to the full appeals court. The town has filed its reply brief, and we haven't heard a word from the appeals court since that happened. They could issue an informal decision, they used to call them Rule 128 decisions, at any time without having an actual argument on it. So I, for example, when I go to work every day, I check the appeals court docket to see whether they've actually issued a decision. So could it be tomorrow? Could it be in a week? Could it be in a month? Or might we, on one of those dates, get notice that there actually is going to be an oral argument before the bench? Those are usually scheduled somewhere between 3 and 6 months out.
Well, then it would be scheduled soon, because the briefing was completed in January of this year, correct?
No, when they issue you a date, it's going to be 3 months to 6 months from the date that it gets issued. I'm not going back. So it's really, I'm as unclear as you are. Because
And in the event that that decision goes in favor of the town, does High Pines Corporation have the funds necessary to do the work specified in the settlement agreement it reached with the town in 2014? It does not.
No.
So it has no, you don't have the funds to complete that work.
Well, you know,
Is that
we own lots, for example, but they're under covenant with the planning board. The planning board won't release them so that we can sell them to generate funds that we could use to work on the roads. This has happened 2 or 3 times. They've stopped us from being able to sell lots. We've made proposals. We made a proposal that, with respect to 6 lots that weren't under the covenant, if we could get funds, we would pay, I think it was $75,000 per lot for 6 lots, which would have put $450,000 in the town's actual possession to hold as additional security. And the town said no. The planning board said no. You know, it's not a one-way street. I understand the frustration, but we at one point in time thought we had the funds were going to be available to be able to do this job, I think back in 2016. But something bad happened. And the sale of the lots was tied up.
Is Country Club Way the only ingress and egress to Indian Pond Country Club?
Well, there's a road, I believe it's called Pondview Road, that goes out of 4, which is what I call the golf course subdivision, to 3. And 3 connects to 2, 2 connects to 1, and 1 goes out onto Indian Pond Road. So there's a second.
There's a second ingress?
Yeah,
It's
there's
the
a second.
primary egress,
Well, I
correct?
think the primary one is definitely Brook Street.
It would be...
Brook Street.
Right, off Brook Street.
Off of Brook Street, that's the primary entrance.
And that's Country Club Way.
Correct.
And Country Club Way was part of the comprehensive subdivision that was granted to High Pines Court, the layout of Country Club Way itself, not Pond.
Not part of the comprehensive permit at all.
It's not, it was not?
No, the road was approved in the subdivision approval that was granted in 1998.
Right.
The comprehensive permit was not issued until 2007.
But I'm saying Country Club Way itself was, the layout of it was approved in 1998
Right, as part of the subdivision.
as part of the subdivision.
Yep.
I have no more questions.
Very good. Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
Another time.
I did just email a copy of the lease. But paragraph 6, the tenant agrees to maintain the leased premises and all equipment in good condition. During the lease term, the tenant shall make at tenant's sole cost and expense all necessary repairs to the premises, including all routine repairs through normal occupancy and all other repairs that are necessary.
That's
The
signed,
tenant-
that's signed and dated?
That is signed and dated November 30th, 2010. It is a 15-year lease that expires on November 30th, 2025 between the landlord, EBF LLC, who is my client, and the tenant, Indian Pond Country Club.
Very well. Anything more for anybody? Can you speak? Go ahead.
Fred Tonsberg, I guess 144 Country Club Way, also EBF, which is the owner of the current maintenance building. Marcia, just in regards to what you were just talking about, there's three different things that are kind of going on here. Number one is High Pines Corporation, okay, and that is the 134 lots for the road. The two parcels, then there's the ZBA permit, which again, that's what they tried to come under the very first time. That is what the zoning board originally approved in 1997, 1998, somewhere, 1998 I think it is. And that granted the golf course the rights because it's a residential subdivision, so that's where you need the special permit for, because a golf course is not allowed in this area. So that is the 1998 permit, so that's the second thing. And I think you were just confusing the comprehensive permit because you were just in the 40B, which is the 40B, which is what I took, I acquired from High Pines Corp. And took it and developed all those. So you have three different things going on there. Again, they try to, what Mr. Fleming is continually hides behind, and nobody has come to this realization, is if High Pines Corporation, the very first permit that is actually required in order to get to the country club, if that is not approved, and I'm going to say finished, then there's no frontage or access to get to Indian Pond Country Club, which is now, and they didn't come back, so High Pines Corporation got both of those permits approved. That's why it says High Pines Corporation 1998. Just because he transferred it, he, again, special permit, which is, I know what I have to go through on these 40Bs and everything else, special permits. Mr. Dowling, you've made comments about, did you ever come back before and tell us that you sold it? No. All these things are needed so that the board and the town and everybody else knows what we're dealing with. He sold it now to himself, arm's length transaction, of which if High Pines Corporation doesn't do what it's supposed to do, then Indian Pond Country Club cannot exist. They're putting the cart before the horse, but now all of a sudden this is where we're at. And now, the key to this whole thing, he was allowed one maintenance building. That's in the original permit. Why doesn't he own it? Let's not talk about we're evicting him. He wasn't paying his rent. Nobody's asked that question. I'm hiring my attorney. I have letters here, Mr. Fleming. I have them and I can present them in the court. I don't think my father wants that. Okay? We were sending letters to him constantly to pay the rent. I have no problem giving you the lease. You're going to laugh at it. I don't think he's going to want me to give you the lease because this is why he wants to get out. He's paid nothing for 15 years. Look what he's done to the building. It's a mess. He's supposed to maintain it. He owns a country club, a maintenance company. He can't even take the weeds that have gone from the ground to the roof line off the building. That is not a good neighbor. Please, close the hearing tonight. Deny this. Help the neighborhood out.
Anyone else? We're getting past the witching hour. Anyone from the public?
Something over there at the podium, too.
No.
No one on the line? No one asking to talk? Anyone on the board want to speak some more?
I don't even know what to say.
I'll make a motion. I move that we close the hearing.
Can I get a second?
What was the motion?
Close the hearing. The only problem is
Close the hearing.
close it.
You do what with it, though?
Yeah.
Well, then don't we have to do one thing at a time?
You can make a motion to close. That's fine.
Okay.
But
I don't, or I could just make a motion to deny.
you can do that also.
He's going to try to do it incrementally, but.
Well, the only reason I'm not doing it incrementally is when you close it, the engineering is basically off the table, and everything you engineered is stopped and zeroed, which is fine. You can do whatever you want. I can't.
I mean,
stop you.
again, if you want to, I didn't hear. Again, if you want to kick the can, if you want them to meet, to respond to our engineers' comments on their plans, that's fine.
I'm pulling the board.
Mike,
I don't want to steer this boat.
no, either way, I just, Jason, do you have an opinion? Way to stand tall. This is going on. I don't see an end in sight. I propose we just deny it.
It's detrimental to the neighborhood, the whole neighborhood. You can see it. This is every day there. Every day. And the place is a disaster. Okay?
If they want to do something, do it in 2 years from now and come back to us again, and maybe things will get straightened out, but I propose we just deny it.
All right, make your proposal to close.
I move that we deny the Indian Pond Country Club's application for a special permit to construct a new maintenance facility.
I second it.
No. Jason, we're going out of order here. I think we have to close it.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to do that.
No, I know. I was holding you in. I'm just trying to make sure we're procedurally correct.
Okay. I know we got in trouble for not closing.
Yeah, I think you close the hearing first, then you take your.
All right.
Okay.
I propose we close the meeting.
Can I get a second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Now,
I move that we deny Indian Pond Country Club's application for a special permit to construct a new maintenance facility.
can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll abstain. Don't matter. All right.
I move that we
Close this meeting.
Adjourn.
adjourn.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Myself.
Aye.
Aye.
Very good.